The Indie Council is in session. Welcome, everyone. This is a place for the leading voices from across the galaxy. Wow, the industry. Galaxy, who knows?
Our galaxy.
To gather, talk news, titles, and everything indie. I'm your master of ceremonies, Jill Grote, the Indie Informer, and today we're joined by two skulls, one laser, Janet Garcia.
Hello.
And let's just jump, Jenny Wyndham.
Geronimo.
I think those are going to make more sense in a second. But this is our episode for July, and a lot has been going on this month. And I think what's funny is that we're going to, I think, start by jumping into something that's not happening in July, but something we've been doing in July, which is Big Walk. Y'all, we've been big walking, and we are ready for big talking because I think I can speak for everyone to say that we unanimously love this experience. This has been so good. So, do y'all want to talk about your sort of overarching thoughts to kind of get into what Big Walk from House is?
Yeah. It's a little multiplayer adventure. This has been marketed for some time, so it's definitely one of the big indies of the year, I think, because it's coming from a house, which is the team that made Untitled Goose Game, if I'm not hallucinating. Okay, good, looking for the nods of approval. Yes. Yep. I was like off the dome. I'm like, I think I have that right. Because of that, and that being such a beloved other kind of indie breakout hit, this is definitely was kind of guaranteed to get major coverage from outlets. We're recording this ahead of the embargo, so that technically remains to be seen, but I feel pretty confident that this will be widely covered. They provided ample time to play it as well, which I think will help their coverage a lot too. But this game can be played with 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, all the way up to 12 players. But it is puzzle supported for up to 4 in terms of scaling, because it does change based on the player count up until 4. After that, it's kind of same difference. And it is a campaign style game, so there is an ending. It's not just we're hanging out and doing random puzzles. It's not procedurally generated. You enter an authored space. There are a bunch of different puzzles throughout this really large island, and that's all you're kind of presented with. You're set to solve them. You get little, we call them skulls. Some people call them gourds. It's like a little figure, little item, and you slot them in and then kind of keep on progressing that way, and you're kind of knocking out these different towers. It opens on an area that's very much like the tutorialization zone that really shows you the flow of how you are meant to make progress in the game, and then you're kind of let loose into the world. It is highly designed around and dependent on proximity chat, so this is definitely a game you want to use the proximity chat for, not just in the funniness of where'd Jill go? I can't hear. There's that bit, yes, but also a lot of the puzzles are communication based. I would not describe this as a difficult puzzle game, but I would say that it is about making a plan together. It's like teamwork and communication is what the name of the game is, really, because the puzzles themselves are usually mostly pretty simple. It's like, can you input the right symbol? Hold on.
No, Big Walk.
It's finally caught up to me. But yeah, you have, something like, what symbols are on your side that I need to put in? But they also play a lot with nonverbal communication. So a big part of it is moving your arms in different ways. You have like a set of raising your hands, raising both arms, sitting down, crouching. And you might need to use that to telegraph things that aren't able to be described otherwise because you can't hear each other. And then other plays with space as well of, we have to, an early tutorial puzzle is you have to hold down a switch to open something, sit like it feels like 100 feet away, at a 20, 30 feet away, far enough away that you can't communicate. So there's a little bit of like planning, trust, and also using tools. You can kind of gain tools as you're walking around. So, an early one is a little ball that can glow. You can hold that, you can turn that on, you could throw it around. It's your ball to do whatever you want with it. The ball's in your court. Pretty early in, you discover, oh my God, there's walkie-talkies. This is going to change everything. Then you realize, okay, you only have so much hand space or inventory space. You can kind of gain things over time. So it really is just this big adventure of puzzles and teamwork and friendship and good vibes. And that's the general setup, but definitely chime in with any big things I missed, no pun intended, with the big walk element of it all.
A big thing that I have found incredibly entertaining, because the game does not tutorialize really much of anything. You start in sort of this hub area where you have these placards that tell you the basic movements, but as you move out into the world, there, I think, are essentially zero instructions. And so, what's really incredible are the ways that you find as a team to communicate, um, and the ways that you can, as a team, navigate all sorts of strategies and solutions. So even things like coming up with your own language for like how you use things, what do different symbols or motions mean, and even like the ways that you plan. It's just incredible to see. And at first I was a little bit apprehensive. I remember this was back in the preview before I'd even played the first time ever, where I was like, how entertaining could a game where you're just walking and talking be? Like, how much dead space are we gonna have to fill? Like, what is gonna be sort of the thing that keeps us going? But it feels very much, we mentioned the Breath of the Wild, like
Hmm.
what's over the next hill feeling. And I think this game captures that sense of curiosity and wonder where when you're with your friends walking and talking, time goes so quickly and you're constantly saying, wait, but what's that house over there? What's that play structure over there? And it's incredible how quickly the time passes, where it just feels so natural and very organically paced, where you have moments where you slow down. Maybe you discover a mode of transportation that causes you to sort of stop and smell the roses, just take in the vistas. And then lo and behold, you stumble on another puzzle, and that kind of kicks things up again in terms of, okay, now we got to put our thinking caps on, we have to work together, and you're more actively involved in a very different way. And so I have been so impressed with the way that the pacing of this game works just on its own, very
Yeah.
organically.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Something else I forgot to mention that's like a big part of the game is the day night cycle.
Yes.
It runs on a it's not at all like it's like their own timing for it. So it's not it happens like pretty regularly where you go from day to night, complete with like a full on sunset, a full on sunrise. The reason this is such a big deal is this darkness is
dark.
very dark. It's like real life dark. But funnily enough, they did a great job making it. It doesn't feel like an FU level of darkness, even though it is very dark. In part because they do make it so that your eyes glow a little bit to help you just a teeny bit. But it is dark enough where if you want to be able to traverse at night, you're going to need some type of lighting, and that's where it's like maybe you're carrying one of those orbs, maybe you find a flashlight or something, like, or maybe you just plan to wait it out. Like there'd be times while we were playing where it's like, you know what, let's just stand here for a couple of minutes because it'll the sun will rise again and then it'll get clearer and clearer how things are going, because you are very much out in wilderness. So there's very little direct explicit pathing other than there are some stair structures at certain points. Like again, it has little puzzle places, so it has been inhabited in some way, but it is just like you're out in the wilderness, you're looking for, where is it not just boulders? I guess that's a walkable area, because it's not a very like mountain goaty kind of game. You can get up some rocks, but it is mostly like look for ground, but the ground's just it's like it's sand, it's grass, it's river, it's just you're out in nature. Yeah, I got nothing but good things to say about this game.
Yeah.
The sound design's incredible, and the look is
Love it.
it's like hyper realistic almost, but then you're not, because you're just like circle people, like
Yeah, it's
just
like
thick
Fisher
circle
Price
people.
meets hyperrealism, because like
Yes.
you and all of the structures that you do the puzzles in look like preschool toys. Like there was even one puzzle where we looked at the pegs that you had to like put into these slots, and we were like, I feel like I played with this when I was in grade school, or in preschool. And yeah, that juxtaposed with the hyperrealism just works. And at first I wasn't entirely sure. Again, when I saw the trailer way back when it debuted, I was kind of like, okay, I don't know how much this will feel good while playing, but it feels really good, and it makes the silly moments when you're sort of gesticulating to one another look so fun, and it adds to the silliness in a really delightful way.
It also adds to this sort of sense of realism isn't the right word, but like you feel really invested in what is happening. For one of our adventures, like you'll get into the dark and you'll feel actually kind of nervous, kind of afraid to be alone, that you've lost your way and you don't know where everyone is. And then that moment, we've had a moment very recently where we're all sitting together and watching the sun come up, and it was just this moment of like, maybe not great content, but we're all sitting there like, that is objectively gorgeous. We are all just having this really beautiful moment where we feel accomplished, and the world around us is starting to brighten up and show the beautiful colors of sunset, and it just felt so real and so right. That this game does very well. It has an amazing game loop of challenge and eureka and celebration, and that is not only discovering the world, discovering the puzzles and overcoming those puzzles, getting your prize, which is that little red thing that everyone, I'm so excited to see what everybody else calls it.
I want to know what people call it.
Which are essentially like keys that you slot into different towers that you find in the game, and then those towers will unlock a literal key, which then unlocks something in the world, so that you have those big moments of, oh my gosh, the world has opened up in some way. I think one of our first examples of this is finding a map of the world, which doesn't sound great, but we are going to put up some of our adventures. You'll be able to see them, so you can see what we mean when we're like, oh my gosh, this map is a big deal. So there's this amazing loop of just like exploring, finding things, communication with your friends. This is not a game that's gonna be, this might end friendships. This is a coming together and being better friends by the end of it. The friendship we found along the way kind of game. 100%. I think Janet said something amazing in one of our first adventures where she said, I mean, you kind of want to call it friend swap because that's how we understand this sort of game. But in a way, it's a much more elevated version of that. That's Jenny and I's third place game.
Exactly. It
where
is
you're
a third
going.
place game.
Yeah, you are going there to hang out and to see what there is to see, and it's this. You really can't understand the experience, I think, until you're in it, because it is this also. It is first person at all times, so you are immersed in the world, which is a really cool feeling to have.
Yeah. They play with that perspective a lot too, of the first person element, where and again, like, these things they end up being forms of challenges, but they feel like very intentional, which I think is I think, without being too pejorative, because I think there are some really like well designed loops within like the friend slap genre, or whatever you want to end up calling that, but a lot of times you are kind of fighting like the physics of the game. It's like a big like mechanical trope underpinning a lot of those types of games, and this is just like, it takes more traditional design ideologies and pairs them with just like before friend slap became a term, I would just call those prox chat games, like games that are like so dependent on proximity chat. But as far as first person, like if you do something like open the physical map that you can get, it's so big you can't see anything in front of you while you're looking at it, but also there's no way to really show people it other than you can turn it and hold it up and then you can't see it, or they can look over your shoulder. Like, it ends up being very not just immersive, but playing with your perspective and also creating additional instances for you to need to rely on other people, or for like an experience. Like, some of the experiences in the game can be understood by seeing other people experience it within your party. So stuff like, we found a hip pack in the game, and we put it on Jill, and then we put the map on Jill, and the map is like comically large, and we're like, oh my god, this looks so funny, but like Jill doesn't know that because Jill is in first person. Yeah. So like but it's like, it's interesting, like, this is like a very overly esoteric comparison, but sometimes they say that, like, if you have like a kid or just a child in your life and seeing them experiencing something, it almost like recontextualizes it for you. Like, there are moments like that in this game where it's like, I don't know, it's so coming of age coded. Like, this is like a coming of age video game, but you're experiencing it even though like we're all adults. So I don't know, it has that like like, I feel like I'm having my own like summer life is strange moment with like my friends.
Well, and what I think is so special about this game is that you have these moments, and a lot of what I think, it's there's so much celebration in this game. The number of times that we've cheered or like done a group hug or like jumped for joy is incredible. And then I start immediately thinking like, oh my God, who else do I want to play this game? And I want to be there for those experiences. And what's interesting is that this game, because it's not sort of procedurally generated, it doesn't go on forever. Like once you play this game, you do kind of know the puzzles, but I think the joy in being able to be with other people in their first playthrough where they get to experience that same like sort of celebratory moment seems like it's for me is going to be almost just as rewarding, maybe more so in other ways than simply just playing it once and like kind of putting it away. So I think to your point, it's a really cool like the way that it connects you to other people and the shared experiences and kind of like that coming of age feeling is really interesting because I don't think I've played a co-op game that has encouraged me in that way ever.
It's so purely joyful. Like the celebration is baked in. Whenever you successfully complete a puzzle, there's confetti that pops up. So it makes you already feel like, yeah, we did it. Let's have a party sort of moment. And you do feel that inherently and want to continue on experiencing that. I think there's also a really good communication here with the game and the player because to keep it fresh, none of the puzzles are ever the same puzzle, but sometimes they really mess with your expectations of what these puzzles are going to be. So really early on, one of our puzzles were like, okay, we all have to like push a button and then we'll get this toy and everything's great. Whatever you call it, the skull, the toy, the gourd, whatever. So we all got that. The gourd started coming down. We were all excited. And then we were suddenly trapped with one half of the room being separated completely from the other half. And then we suddenly had to figure out a way to discuss with each other how to get out of this escape room, essentially. But none of us could talk. So all we could do is like... funny arm movements.
And I was separated from Jenny
And it
until
was
that
Jenny,
moment. I
yeah.
said, I'm the
Decided to
worst
sound
person to be alone because, like, I'm the most puzzle challenged. But again, it's not that kind of game. It's not like which I think what's so impressive about this is that the puzzles aren't challenging, but they're still, like, interesting and fun to do. And it's like, they're kind of just... It's tough to call something objectively fun because we all have our own perspectives, but it's just such a delightful time. And this is another game where, like, the hours completely melt away when I'm playing. Like when like the only way I knew time was passing when we did our session yesterday was like that I got a little bit hungry as the time went on. And that's literally it. And that's just because we played around dinner time, like after work kind of hours.
I think the first time we played for like almost 4 or 5 hours and we just kept going.
And I could like, this is like one that I feel like I could just completely marathon because it's just, it's so compelling and it is wild that they were able to make walking from point A to point B interesting. And I think it is interesting because of what you mentioned, Jenny, the like Breath of the Wildness of the constantly finding things. And there's also like, I think it helps that there's more there's like levels to the puzzle challenge as well, or like the challenge room challenges where it's, you know, there's bigger structures and then there's ones that are really small. Like when we found that small basketball hoop one, it's like, oh, this is like really simple but like really fun to do. And then it's thinking of, is there a silly way to accomplish it? Like at the risk of almost putting a negative tint on the game, because I really love it and I don't want to do that for people, but it almost has like, the games are kind of like the get to know you activities you do at like a camp, but like without the sociological horrors of being like, man, I'm not trying to do all this, but like the idea, like we're all going through the hula hoop together, we're untaking, like it kind of has some of that energy, but it's really fun to do. And there's that challenge of, you know, how do you want to approach some of these problems? Like, do you want to just stack up a bunch of us and then we're dropping it into the hoop? Do we want to just have one person throw and then one person rebounds? And I think that's cool. And then it also has, again, the like the tools that are scattered throughout the world, but then also there's so much more as we play that we're uncovering that, you know, we're not done with the game at the time of this recording that we have questions about. Like, okay, we found some coordinates. What's that for? Should we already know? Have we not seen it yet? Like, is this something we have to think? Like, just there's additional mysteries, and I think that really helps with the intrigue. Combined with also, I think the day-nightness keeps things fresh and things for you to prepare for, and also the sound design of this game is immaculate. It's very cartoony in some elements, like when you're interacting with objects or when you're like pitter-pattering on the beach, but then it also has like a hyper-realistic sound of the forest where it's like cicadas at night or like wildlife in the but there's nothing else in it. It's an empty world, but it feels alive because of the foliage work, the lighting work, the sound design work, the day-night cycle that they have in there. And it just I think the reason walking from point A to point B is so fun is because it's not point A to point B, it's point A to whatever you find on the way to point B. And that's what makes it different.
Yeah. I think there's also this really beautiful sense of like communion with nature, which is not something I expected, because you are just a pile of like Play-Doh balls running around. So you'd think it's just going to be this like very silly, and on times it is very silly when you're trying to like, oh gosh, how do the two of us represent a snowflake together? How do we make a swirl gesture? And it's very silly, and you're laughing at each other at how stupid some of your things that worked. But other times you are just kind of walking through this, like Janet said, this really realistic, alive nature world. So you feel that feeling of when you're on a hike and you kind of look around the world and you're like, this is beautiful. This is bigger than me. This is beyond my cares and concerns of the world.
Yeah, like the number of times, every time we've gotten into a session, someone has always said, you think those star constellations are real?
Real?
Like,
yeah.
everyone is looking at the stars and like now thinking about like the world as this bigger space around them. And so, yeah, just wanted to affirm your point, Jill, because it's so true. We all kind of have these moments of just awe at the world around us.
Yeah. I think also Janet talking about further secrets and things that we're still unveiling, because I think we're like 11 hours into it at this point,
which I'm very suspicious about time versus progress, because it's we've gone we have followed where we want to, which I kind of prefer. I think there's, and it's interesting because it's, you know, different groups are going to bring different things to the table. Like, I'm so curious to like peek over at MinMax has their own like playthrough they've been working on like during the embargo time. And I've been like, I'm kind of already with Indie Council. I think I'm going to stay over here and just keep working. You know, I was like, oh, I'm actually playing at the exact same time you guys are playing, just not with your, you know, so it's, I'll be curious to see how other people tackle it. And there's different ways to like enjoy it. Like, you can be a lot more methodical and say like, we're going to stay like, we're by this tower, so we're going to stay in this area. I feel like we have more of like a free spirit vibe, which I like, because it's like, I don't know. It's not, I don't think this is, I think the beauty of it is that presumably it's made so that it doesn't have to be optimized, because I think I haven't done the math, but I'm pretty sure there's way more in the world than what we need to like beat the game, at least for like vanilla completion. I'm sure, you know, there's a completionist run of this game does exist, I'm sure, but you know, so it's nice because I feel like we're about to hit like a, almost like, you know, when you forget to upgrade in a game and then you upgrade and then you're super powerful. I feel like that's kind of what we're hitting in terms of getting to know what is available to us for traversal and for like mapping things out. And we have like, we just did one tower and the other tower's almost done. So I think that's really cool. But it's not, I don't know, it's not a game that I feel like I'm desperate to finish it. Like, I want to finish it because I like playing it. And this is one of those rare games where like, because I'm just not, you know, I'm not relaxed. I'm just I'm high strung. And I'm a little bit of a workaholic. Like, I'll just lay it out there. So I'm like, game, next game. This is one where, like, if I'm not even done with it, and if there's DLC, like, I want to play it. Like, I would play this game forever if I could, because it's literally that fun. Like, it's so nice. It's so specific. Yeah, like, I've just been, my only debate at this point is, like, is this game actually like kind of a masterpiece video game? Which I don't know if I'm there yet. I'm very high though on it. Very high. I'm just kind of waiting for what is the end. And if the end is like anything that feels like that's kind of cool, like, I'm gonna be like, okay, this is like one of the best games literally of all time, because it's just so special and fun, and it still feels so fresh. Like, it doesn't feel like we're doing the same thing over and over again. Every adventure feels a little new.
Yeah. There is something, and I don't think we want to go into it, that we discovered very early on, and I think most people will, that has us absolutely intrigued, and I think possibly could lead to some kind of story, because this game, by and large, has no narrative. It's all emergent storytelling, and what you find in the stories, you're going to tell people about what you did when you were here. But there's something in the world that we are all sort of looking at, like, is this something? Is this lore? Is this story that we're all really hoping gives us something really cool to think about at the end? But that's just going into another thing of like mystery and how you play this game, because this game is so, you are not given any sort of direction, any sort of objectives, unlike House's earlier game, Untitled Goose Game, where you get that checklist of like, these are the things you need to do. It's a lot more about the checklist you give yourself. So very early on, we said, hey, there's that thing that we can see. We really want to make that run. Let's do that. In our last session, I sort of very much took over, and I was like, I don't care what else we were doing.
No,
We've discovered this.
Yeah,
and we
it was
need
the right
to
move.
be doing this now. I don't care. Our
Yeah.
other objective, we're done for now. We need to go here and do this. And it was so good.
Mm-hmm. One
Yeah, it's
additional detail I wanted to highlight, just to like add to the compliments of this game. I've been thinking a lot about how this game feels like when you move to like a new neighborhood, and you've got your friends there with you, and you've got the people that you're like kind of using to help you explore and get to know a place. And what I find really cool and intriguing is like we start on this island, and it feels ginormous, and it feels like you can barely, like, you kind of look around and you can't see or discern a whole lot. But then the more familiar you get, you start having these landmarks. And I actually wrote down, because I was wondering, what are the nicknames we have? We have a lot of cheese-based nicknames for a lot of the landmarks.
Yeah.
We have the Cheese It, the Cheese
Yeah.
Grater, Cheese Wheel 1, Cheese Wheel 2. So like we really like cheese in this world for some reason.
Who doesn't?
But we
you know?
have other landmarks, like there's the bougie house, the chalice, like this, the backpack spirals, or things like that. And so
Cone
it's kind of
Mountain.
like,
yeah.
it's interesting to also use this as this sort of experience. To Janet's point about like, oh, this is a coming of age. I'm like, this is also kind of what it's like to like make a space your own and like kind of find, I don't know, familiarity in the new. And so I think it's just really neat to create meaning with other people, and how this game just makes you, not makes you, it just like lets you do that so naturally. So yeah, just wanted to highlight that as another just check mark in how good this game is.
Yeah, I think it also nicely leans into kind of naturally what would be cool in even just like its achievements, which I know some people are like very hot and cold on like even achievements existing in games, but like I'm trying to think if there's one that wouldn't be as like spoilery. I don't know, like gaining a certain item or something where you're like, oh, this is really cool, and now it feels almost even more cool that the game is acknowledging that it's cool to have done this thing. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, it's so compelling and so lovely. And one thing I wish we point out a little bit earlier, again, presumably people that are listening to this are kind of just listening to at least the entirety of the conversation, but it's worth noting that the way the progression and the saves works is, if you're playing it, like you're the host, the campaign is like through you as the host. So like when we have Jill running our sessions, Jill is the host. Like if Jill was like, actually, I'm never playing a video game again, me and Jenny would just have to start over because like we don't have any access to the game, you know? Frankly, I would say, can you log in just so me and Jenny can finish what we were doing and you to sleep? But that would be the situation. And I bring that up to say that if, I don't know, if you're someone that like really wants to play this game, but you don't have like a group that you feel like can run it, you can maybe Frankenstein a group by having people just jump in and play with you here and there. But also, if you're going between groups, there's a little bit of that ability too if you're not the host. Because I kind of did a little bit of that with, I played with y'all, and then I played with Isaiah for a bit on a file I hosted. And then I had Isaiah play with us, and he missed like a chunk of the game. But what's kind of nice about it is once you understand like the general, if you do just like even that tutorial zone, like you know the game. Like you might find certain things more surprising, or you know, say, oh my god, you have this tool that I haven't seen yet or something. But it's very drop in, drop outable, and you can also modify those groups. So again, Jill can just play with one other person, or up to like we could have a huge group of people, and they'd come in and they'd be in that world. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how people deal with like higher groups or just the flow of the game and how it might change for people. Playing with 2 people though, I think is very viable. I have done it. The only thing that you will feel, the only like ding against the game, is you feel the pain of the inventory management quite harsher, because you need the little things that you're gaining. You have to hold those. You can hold them in your hands. If you have a different way to hold them, you can do that. But that's kind of it. It's not like it just, goes inside of you or something and you can just like have it. It's not like inherent to your person. You have to carry it. So that can be a little, but honestly, I think it's totally still worth it. And I still had fun doing that. It just was like, wow, we're really tight on space. Again, the game kind of has ways where you can gain additional like ways to carry things, but you have to, go and get that. So like, that's a little bit of a pain, but I think definitely still worth it. If you're someone who only has one other person and you're like, can I play this with them? You definitely can. So, just something to be aware of.
Yeah. Having that scaled up for 3 people and then 4 people, which we've done, that turns into less of a constraint and more of a okay, it's time to loop back to our tower point, drop these off. I think there are a lot of really lovely little pleasantries that I kind of want to shout out as well, things that just make this game so lovely. One of the first things I think we all laugh about is our little nose beak mouths. When you talk as a person, you can see it expand in the way you're talking, so you always know someone's talking even if you can't hear them, which is just such a delightful. It's so silly. There's no reason for it to be that silly, but it is that silly. I think there are, if you sit down on a slope, you will start to slide. And in instances where you are up a very tall mountain, you will slide like your life is behind you, like you are going so fast. I've caught a few amazing moments watching Jenny and Janet kind of glide over me, and when you land, instead of taking like fall damage or anything, your character just kind of does a cartoon dizzy sort of thing where you're incapacitated for a full second, and it makes the silliest little sound. It makes that like very well-known cartoon dizzy sound, and you drop all your things, and it's just so funny to do. It never gets dull to like see other people do it or do it with them, and it's just like they didn't have to make a mechanic where you sit down and slide down a mountain. That didn't need to happen. This game is not, I think Janet said this earlier, you're not a mountain goat. You cannot scale the mountains, so you are very much solving the puzzle of the landscape as well. Just getting around is its own puzzle. So, and that's a big fun thing for everyone to do as well. That's a part of getting to A to B. And when you discover traversal changes, trying not to say anything too much, then it really matters. It's this big upgrade for you to really feel again that loop of coming up against a challenge and feeling like you're on top of the world because you've figured it out,
Yeah. Every reward is very rewarding in this game. Like you really feel like you've worked hard for something, but you don't feel like you've suffered to gain it.
Yeah.
Like I don't really feel like, oh my God, like thank God that's over. I mean, there are, I think we had a really tough challenge last night where we had actually 2 really tough challenges last night where I'm like, I hope it's done, not because I don't want to do it, but just because this seems hard to do. So if it were to be done, that would be kind of awesome. Like, the kind of type feeling. But yeah, like even just like the smallest things end up feeling very like satisfying to have achieved. And it's a game that has almost no downtime. And then when you do have downtime, you're kind of just like taking in the vistas of things. Like it doesn't feel like, I don't know. It's like, it's a very, and I know part of this is like the onus is on the player to not have fried your attention span with scrolling TikTok for a lot of hours a day. But like, but also the onus is on a piece of media to be engaging enough where it's like, if I want to check Blue Sky, part of that is me, but also how long is your cutscene going type vibe is my perspective on game pacing. This one, I'm not thinking of anything. The only thought I have is exactly what I'm doing. I'm completely engrossed in it, but it's not like wildly difficult either. It's just very casually active, like just like, again, taking a big walk in real life would be, where it's like, it's, unless you're doing a really challenging hike, there's not a lot to think about, but you are looking at the ground, seeing where the twigs are, trying to, and this has a bit of that too. It's pretty easy to walk around, but you can get a little slightly clipped on like trees and twigs, but not in a the game is janky kind of way, but more in a it matters where you're going and what you're doing. Like, there isn't just an auto walk towards something. Like, you wouldn't be able to make it. You need to have, like, you cannot go on autopilot in this game. You need to be active, but not so much that you're like exhausted by it. Yeah. And that's like a slight, and then the activity only goes up. So I feel like the baseline activity is like high enough to be constantly engaging, and then you hit a puzzle and it's like, oh, now like all my neurons are firing. I'm really engaged. I'm looking, I'm talking to my, teammates. I'm seeing, what are we doing? What's our strategy? What do you think this is? How could, and it's so fun to like try different people's ideas for things and then have something finally work out. That's its own like satisfaction.
I think that this was the second session for us where we discovered a puzzle that didn't have an immediate way to figure it out. Like, you could have definitely done it. And it was, it involved carrying something very heavy across a path that didn't look like we could do it. And we're all like coming at it different ways. We're like, okay, we can do this, but we can't do that. We're testing it with like, okay, we can't throw it. Okay, we can't kick it. How do we get there? And we finally came up with an idea, and we're like, oh, this is great. So you feel really proud of yourself at the end of some of these, because it really comes from you and your imagination, your creativity to come up with some of the silliest ways. I think there are also each session feels really different because you discover very different tools. At the end of a session, the tool that you're holding will teleport to your base. So you can start out with whatever you're holding. You don't automatically lose all your things, but you can't hold everything. So a lot of the times, we talked about the walkie-talkie. If you've got the walkie-talkie one session, but you don't have another session, you're going to have to come up with new ways to do things. So I think our last session, we got something completely unexpected, very silly, and changed the way that we signaled each other to start things. Added a little bit of light, so we didn't have to carry all of the lights that we usually do. And then we lost it. We're all very sad about losing.
I'm hoping to find it the next session. Let me in the game early. I'll just walk around and look for it. I think this is also one of those games where, do y'all remember before the Nintendo Switch 1 came out and they had all those commercials about like Karen on the rooftop with her Nintendo Switch and her friends are coming over, and we all kind of looked at that and said, okay, yeah, but that's just a commercial. That's like not how it's actually going to be. And then the Nintendo Switch came out and it really was like that. And we're like, wow, that's incredible. Big Walk is like that. You look at the trailers and, Jill, you pulled up some of the footage that's showing off the game here if you were watching the video version. And, you see these little like orb people and they're like having fun and they're pointing and they're jumping and they're dancing and they're making shadow puppets. And I feel like as a self-proclaimed slightly cynical and also not a big multiplayer, especially online multiplayer kind of gamer, I'm like, all right, but how fun is it actually going to be? Because you can make it look fun because you got the people in marketing, walking around capturing footage. This is genuinely what happens when you play, which it's, and not in a, I think it's easy to look at this from a cynical standpoint and say like, well, I don't want to make my own fun, or I'm not like camp coded dorky like that to like have that much fun with it. But again, it's happening naturally over time of having these like in jokes, having these moments, having the, there's like radio signals you can tune into, and having like your favorite song, or having an audio cue that is really sticks in your head. And it's just, it is so naturalistic that they kind of, I don't know, it's like a game that you can't be cynical playing. I feel like it's like impossible to have cynicism towards this game because it just ends up being so like naturally wholesome. It's like one of the, Jenny, I know you're, Mr.
No,
Wholesome Games, but this is the
genuinely-
wholesomest game ever, and it
thinking
rips.
the same thing. I'm like, yeah, I think for me, what makes it so wholesome is that I find it incredibly compelling that this is motivated. Like the game creates this space for it all to happen, but it's like it's it's the friends you make along the way, and it truly is. And I think it's a testament to this game that they have created a space where you are incentivized to work together and to celebrate and to have fun. And like I don't think you could even really be mean if you wanted to, but like it's a game that really pushes people to collaborate and have a great time doing it. And I want to say also, I'm usually not a multiplayer person, mostly because less on the cynical side and more because I just get really overstimulated by a lot of multiplayer games, especially the sort of latest wave of, quote, friend slop. And I find myself also, I'm not super great at them because I get overstimulated and then I kind of sit a lot of the time
Yes.
because I'll die really soon.
Yes.
And it's so nice to be able to consistently be a part of what's happening and consistently be a part of the fun. And what's really nice is in the groups, like I know when we've played, we've all traded off sort of who's leading, who's not, and what have you. And I could see even different groups where it's like maybe the roles are more consistent, but everyone has a role to play and has something to do.
Yeah.
And that is another testament to the way that this game is just so approachable and just fun for a wide variety of players.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
impossible to be a weak link in this game because it's what you're being asked to do is just like work towards solving the problem, which can be done in like a lot of ways. Like there are like some puzzles that we've had that are like we had one that was about kind of trying to like hit the right switches, and there's like a bunch of them in a space. I was like, okay, then there's a switch reset button, and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna be better at memorizing where they are than like you two are, but I can be the person that quickly resets it, and then I'll just do the ones right in front of me because that'll just be the easiest way. Because then at least I can like help y'all do what you're doing faster and more efficiently, and like you won't have to remember for it as long. So that's like like there's always something that you can be doing. They're just like by design, it's so easy to like help with something. And if you're going from like point A to point B, it's like, okay, well, like you bringing something is helping, and sometimes you not bringing something is helping. It's like, hey, I'm not going to carry anything, I'm going to be the I'm going to be the mule. When we have stuff that we find or we have our skulls or gourds, we'll carry that, and that becomes also its own thing. So yeah, and it's like normally with multiplayer online, I think I am such an old school gamer in the sense that I enjoy the ability to complete a thing. Like the thing that kind of takes away from a lot of multiplayer games is like it's just there to have fun. And I'm like, yeah, but like, don't we want like a nice goal to accomplish so that the game can kiss us on the forehead? And knowing that at the end of all this, the game's going to kiss me on the forehead is like the pinnacle thing. And the other thing that I think sometimes grates on me for multiplayer is like the coordination that takes. Like, oh, you got to set up the time and I don't know, whatever. I don't know if it's just that good. Like, I don't care at all about that. Like, I want to just knock I'm like, here's like, this is like one of those games where I'm like, and we have the Discord DMs to prove this. Like, here's all of our availabilities. How often can we play together?
Yes.
Because I want to play that amount of times. Yeah, like it's really got a magic to it. This is easily going to be, I mean, at least on, I think all of
10,
ours, top 10. I mean,
yeah,
if
for
I'm not counting
sure.
Slay Spire 2, I think this is my game of the year currently. Move over 007. Like, genuinely, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I honestly, if you think it might not be, because I can totally see people looking at this and saying, that just doesn't seem like my kind of thing. I really encourage people to try it because I think I struggle to imagine someone not enjoying it. Like, it's just so, like, it's such easy playing that it's just like, it just goes down smooth.
I mean, the hardest thing for me is I'm like, man, I want more of this, and it's really hard to think of other games that capture this level of experience. And so that is honestly, and this is not even a downplaying the game. It's like, dang, I wish we had more games like this. Like, can we please do more of this somehow? Yeah, House, please do DLC.
Yeah, please.
do DLC.
Don't let us only have this one moment in time, even though, maybe that makes it better.
Yeah, maybe that's part of why we treasure it so much too, is because
Uh-huh.
we know it's the one, the one time.
It's also just so wild. I mean, I feel like we could talk about this game forever. I know we're going long
Yeah,
in this
no,
segment, but it's so crazy that like when this got announced, like I at least had that feeling of, oh no, house, you got to the proximity chat thing too late. Everyone's already done it.
Yeah.
And then they came in like almost Breath of the Wild style, where like when Nintendo announced Breath of the Wild, it's like, Nintendo, you're making an open world game. You're like 4 years late off the trend. This is silly. And then they're like, we made the best one ever. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And like Big Walk is
Yeah.
kind of that. I mean, again, people come to these games for different things. So obviously, if you want the like, oh my god, we died. Like, you know, you're not getting there's not enemies here. You're not getting chased by things. There's not
Yeah.
fail state. So it doesn't have some of those elements that people might be craving. But it's shocking that they were able to show up late and like outdo everybody. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to House. Y'all did it. You had a vision and you did it. And I am so happy that this exists in my life, actually.
Same.
Okay. Are we ready to move? Because we really could talk about this, I think, for the entire
Yeah, honestly, I
episode,
could spend way
honestly.
longer complimenting this game.
And now
just
that I've
sharing
played,
memories.
I've talked
We'll
about
swing
it
back for
as
the
much.
spoiler cast, like a spoiler
Yeah.
cast edition or something.
I really kind of want to just like, okay, we're done. Let's go play. But no, there's more that happened in July that we need to talk about. And again, things that are happening not in July. As we're talking about July. August 6th is going to be wild. It's looking like another May 6th. With notable launches for me, and I don't know if y'all want to include anything in this category, but technically August 4th is Big Walk, but y'all are going to be playing this as far as August 6th, I'm sure. Fields of Mystery, another big game that's going to take you a while to get through, coming out in its 1.0
I'm so excited.
August 5th. Oh my gosh, I'm getting my strawberry cow. That's how this is going to go. That's nothing else but that is my goal.
I'm gonna marry March. I'm so excited.
A game that might also end up being in my top 3 of games of the year, Sovereign Tower. I'm so excited. This is such a chill game. I don't know if it's just because that's 100% a kind of me thing, or because it is such a... Hold on. Let me try to show this to everybody. Because it is such a me game, or if it's going to hit like this for everybody. But this is... I'll show you their actual faces. Hold on. It kind of works like Yes, Your Grace. You've got people coming in. You've got things you have to weigh, whether or not you want to help the merchants or the people or aristocrats. You got people coming in here. You've got a sort of, as you can see here, kind of D&D like stats for people. You send out your knights to go do things, and it matters if they like what they're doing. It matters if they're good at what they're doing. Sometimes those things don't go together. There's a whole backstory of relationships and getting people to like you more, and trying to raise this new kind of kingdom up to be its big thing. And the art is just incredible. Like, I am so in love with this game, and I will not stop telling people about it. Because I
only heard good things. I have a key and I just have not played it yet, but it looks really good.
It's again, August 6th is going to be so hard because you've got all of these games that we've only talked about 3 so far, and they're already games that I'm like, oh, I need to dedicate my life to them. And then also on August 6th, Spirit's Dead. I'm super excited for it. I had a fun time playing the demo some time ago. I forgot exactly where this demo was, but I played it. You're building a little town in the forest for spirits. You interact in different ways to create more things. Again, another really beautiful game. Ambrosia Sky Act 2 is coming out. That is the sort of cleaning-esque game, but you are in space and you're kind of a space ranger, also clergy type thing. Really cool lore, really cool mechanics. Uh, Act 2 coming out, very excited. Runt for all of those sickos out there who enjoy kind of scarier experiences. Cappy Castaway. Oh, Blood Dungeon, of course, is coming out.
Yeah, towards the end of the month, though. I don't know. It's not in that hot spot of the early August, but
Yeah.
same
And
with Colorbound.
Colorbound also.
End of the
Like,
month,
we've
yeah.
got a lot of games clustered together that we're going to have to play at some point. So I don't know if y'all have anything else you want to throw in there, but it's not just game releases.
I'm getting
It's
stressed because I'm like, is
also-
Blood Dungeon the big walk killer for me? I don't know.
We
There's
have
some games.
Yeah.
We got our celebration, and a bunch of these games are launching alongside Wholesome Game Celebration. You know, like Spirit's Dead, Restory. You know, very wholesome games. Cappy
oh
Castaway.
yeah, Restory.
So yeah, Wholesome Game Celebration is happening. This is our annual Steam event and Steam sale. So this is like the big. I like to say, and I am biased, but I'm like, this is like the, if you like cozy games, thoughtful, joyful, you know, delightful games, this is the event you want to pay attention to. We hand curate every game that participates. And it basically is, if you like these kind of games, this is the sale you want to pay attention to. So yeah, we've got some world premieres that'll be going live. We obviously have the new releases. We've got some fresh demos that'll be going live new to a bunch of these games. So just, it's a good time for folks who enjoy just the gentler side of gaming.
I went through on socials, and because there's not any official announcement on what you're going to be seeing, but I went through socials to see what people are shouting about. I want to shout out a couple of the demos that are saying they're going to be involved, including Milky Delivery, which we talked about last time. It is such a special game. Y'all need to check this out.
That's the one
Waterfall.
we're publishing too, which I'm so proud
It's
of.
so good, Jenny. Oh my gosh. The Wells Blessing, I'm gonna show everybody actually, because this caught my eye in, I think, the Wholesome Showcase, I want to believe.
And I think 6-1 Indie. I think it's been in
6-1 Indie.
both.
Yeah. We'll talk about them in a second.
Mhm.
It's kind of, it looks very much like a short hike, which of course caught my eye, but very interested to see what we are actually doing in the Well's Blessing and what the well will bless us with. Who knows? But also Donchi Days, a really big highlight on my wholesome calendar as well. That's going to be there. And I'm really, really excited to check this out. That's going to be kicking off August 6th. But looping around back to 6-1 Indie, they have an event going on right now, starting July 31st, and going to August 7th. So August 6th is going to be their last like full day for you to go check out demos. A couple of demo shoutouts that I caught just really skimming the surface. Cursive Rest Haven has not had a public demo out. This is the first time that they are showing. So there's a really cool moment to go and check that out. Also, Dungeon Lurker, which I played at the Mix for Summer Game Fest. It's gonna be one of those, first of all, love the kind of retro look to it. It's going to be, there's something deeper happening here kind of games. Like the person that I talked to said the magic word, Tunic. So if that's your inspiration, I am in for it. And then Vale's Echo looks really touching, but also really creepy. And I like that vibe as well, that creepy cozy that keeps coming up. I don't know if y'all have anything else you want to shout out going on in August the 6th.
One of the demos I'm checking it, and it is public now, so I'm assuming it's okay to talk about it.
Okay,
For 6-1
okay.
Indie, or yeah, 6-1 Demo Days. I haven't played it yet, but I wanted to shout out Fill the Void, which is a game about consuming worlds to like, you're a little black hole and you're consuming things. So it's kind of like the Katamari or Donut County sort of energy where you're just like drawing things into a central location and getting bigger. I love I love that mechanic. So I thought that would be kind of neat to try and shout out. I have not shouted it, or I have not tried it yet. So we'll see how it goes. And then there is, I'm just triple checking. This one is not live actually, so I'm going to not talk about it. We'll save it for the next month. Yeah. So, but yeah, excited. The demo days has some pretty cool stuff. So yeah.
Y'all, friends be doing cool things. Go check
Mhm.
out the demos. Go have a great weekend with all of those. And then next week, we are just embarrassed with the amount of riches we have. So keep an eye on August 6th and beyond, because like the next week is also pretty wild. Let's talk about news very quickly, things that happened in July. I think I'm going to bring up the Game Informer linked article on Double Fine announces layoffs following split from Xbox. Double Fine, such an interesting trajectory of going indie, getting acquired, and now back to indie again. And of course, that has some repercussions. This is from Marcus Stewart, of course, working hard, doing lovely things over at Game Informer. And he says, Psychonauts developer Double Fine Productions was among the 5 studios spun off from Xbox as a part of its ongoing restructuring. And while it thankfully avoided closure, the divorce has forced the team to make cuts. Specifically, the studio has announced departures of 23 staff members. In a post shared on social media, Double Fine head/founder Tim Schafer writes, as a small, tightly knit team, these actions are not taken lightly. Only the survival of our studio would ever make us consider such a painful action. Our transition to becoming an independent company also means becoming a size that we can sustain. Double Fine states it is working with the affected staff as best we can during their transition. Double Fine was granted independence from Xbox alongside South of Midnight developer Compulsion Games earlier this month. Both studios retained their IP and game catalogs as part of the split. Xbox also spun off 3 other studios. Ninja Theory, Undead Labs were sold to unspecified buyers, and Arcane Studios' fate remains up in the air as it undergoes mandatory consultation in France. Double Fine's most recent release is the pottery-themed multiplayer game Kiln, which launched in April. Under Xbox ownership, the team shipped Psychonauts 2 in 2021 and Keeper in 2025. Put that link below so you can read that as well. It is hard to talk about this sort of thing because on one hand, I love that they're independent again, very selfishly. I really loved what I played of Kiln. I really loved what I played of Keeper, but neither of which professionally for me I could cover because they're very obviously they were an Xbox studio and therefore not independent. And I love to see that they are independent now, but of course that comes out of heartache and for some people losing their livelihood and for bigger worse things that are rippling through the industry. So on one hand, I'm really excited for what they're going to do next and being able to be fully immersed and engaged in it. And the other hand, this continues to be year after year a terrible time to be hoping to make a living in the video game space.
Yeah, it's sad to see the cuts have to happen because obviously they chose to go with Xbox because they thought Xbox would provide, an element of stability for them. It's expensive to make games. It's difficult to, especially the kind of projects that they make, which are not inherently aiming for mass appeal. Like they are like really specific to their sensibilities. So I imagine that Xbox, at least at some point in their relationship, provided a feeling of security and support, and to now not have that and then have to drastically cut back, I think is obviously really upsetting. And the concern I have for Double Fine going forward as now an independent studio is multifold at this point. What happens to them next. Are they going to stay independent? Are they going to, are they looking to get another buyer? If they do, like, what's going to be the energy of that buyer? It's hard to imagine. I mean, there are worse buyers than Xbox, actually, I think. And what kind of apples and oranges for messed up humanitarian stuff in relation to games? Like, it's on one hand nice to see them divorce from Xbox, especially in the wake of the BDS movement, in which many people are not playing Xbox games and trying to avoid Microsoft in its entirety as much as possible as part of that Palestinian-based boycott. So that's nice in that sense. But again, the things we've already discussed, the cuts that had to be made, but also like, how will they deal with their back kind of being against the wall? I don't fault them for however they deal with it, but I am worried about not just, the stability for the people that are working there, but also what does it mean to continue to follow your creative vision when you feel this additional pressure, maybe more pressure than you have before? Will you, and I'm not saying that if they make Psychonauts 3, that's like a sellout decision. Obviously, they love that franchise. I think they pursued it when it felt like it was time. But will we see a more conservative Double Fine in the wake of this? Like, will this kind of shake up their creativity in a negative way? Are the concerns I have with them going forward. But, we just gotta kind of, hope for the best. And they're such even when they were part of Xbox, they had such like that tangential presence in the indie community, I think, through Day of the Devs, which is a nonprofit that is run by Tim Schafer, co-run. I know he's part. I forget how the construction is, but they have such like an element of in the indie scene. I think from that element too, even as they left their indie roots and are now back again. So yeah, wish it was under better circumstances, but just hoping for good things from them moving forward, and that this, doesn't. It sounds dark to say I hope this doesn't break their spirit, but that is what my hope is, because I do think these things are challenging for anybody to deal with, let alone a team like Double Fine.
Yeah. To have such their team was never giant, so to have 23 people leaving has to be demoralizing to both sides. Of the people who are obviously now in a sea of other people being laid off and trying to find more work at this point, and to the people who have to stay and pick up all of the slack from those team members being cut, and to feel this sort of like survivor's guilt of like, I'm still here and other people deserve to be here too sort of situation. Like, I don't envy that position to be in. Like, I am, again, one side very, very sad to hear this, on the other side seeing where Microsoft is right now with the protest, with like the AI stuff they're starting to kind of push more and more. Like, I'm really glad to see that that's not going to infect some studios that I'm very
and it's good that they retain their IP. That is worth mentioning.
Retain their IP is great.
That's
that was
not nothing.
Question. When we started hearing all of these like rumors swirling, it's like, are they gonna be able to continue on with things? So yeah, that is good. Those are, I mean, for such a horrible thing, it seems like probably the best case scenario for everybody if this had to happen. So, man, news. Go play Big Walk. Make yourself a little happier with all the news. But we are moving from one to another. Did we want to go into detail about Xbox's reset and upcoming goals?
We can. I just added that into the notes for additional context for folks
like background.
if they hadn't really seen it. I feel like most people are pretty familiar. Basically, the quote reset comes from the now, I guess, infamous message that Asha Sharma had sent, in which she shared that essentially at this point, what was it, like 1,600 of their employees are going to be laid off, and then later on in the year, another 1,600 employees are going to be laid off, and that they are basically trying to move the business into a new direction. In this article from Kotaku, they highlight the 4 C's that the company has recently shared about their plan.
I can think of one.
Which I will read them. You can, we'll talk about them, I guess. So there's core, which is strengthen our platform led by console, content, grow great games into global franchises, creation, make Minecraft the world creator platform, and connection, extend the worlds that fans love. This is very corporate. It honestly doesn't say much of anything, to be quite frank. And then it's very specific in very odd places, like let's focus on Minecraft. At this point, I don't know. I feel like they have really trashed any goodwill that they've had with the consumer community. They have so much trust to build with the dev community. And so seeing at least this as their plan that they are publicly talking through does not necessarily leave me with a ton of hope in terms of what this reset even means for Xbox moving forward. So
yeah,
remains to be seen what's
very
going to happen.
Specifically for our focus for indies, I am really trying to watch out for what happens with ID at Xbox, the indie program, because there have been in the past a lot of really amazing indies coming out of that program, some continuing to develop as of now that I know of, things that I'm very excited about.
Get ready for indie Fallout, because they're like, can you make more Fallout? How do we get more Fallout out the door?
Yeah.
It's like, let's take these names people really like and just like sell to those people as much as possible. Also, aren't there a lot of them? There's people watching that show. Where can we get? It's very I've never seen in the modern era. I've never seen an Xbox plan work. I've seen so many plans throughout the time. You know, like Game Pass. Oh, now it's cloud. Now it's like play anywhere. Now it's like everything's an Xbox. Now it's actually our Xbox is the Xbox, and we want you to play Fallout. It's just it's a mess. But yeah, Jill, to your point, obviously that's some of that is outside the scope of what we cover here on the show, but it does have a I don't really want to call it a trickle down because I just kind
like
of present that hierarchy, but yes, like
ripple effect.
The idea, and this has always been true, like even the corporations that I enjoy, like Nintendo, you know, PlayStation, whatever, like they're at the end of the day, it's a business, it's about money, and even the things you do that are goodwill, even the things that you do where you're like, we actually lose money on this and we're doing it for the love of the game, you're probably doing it to gain the goodwill, which then gains you money. Again, you can do good things for the wrong reasons. And at this point, I question whether Xbox would even do that at this point. I think they are looking to be lean and somehow be able to make these massively large games. Like, I don't expect this working out.
1 billion users per day in 4 years, which is kind of a ludicrous number. Like thinking about where they're at, which is currently, as this article states, 100 million daily users per day. It's like, in addition to, like you've mentioned, they have so much going against them that even if they had the goodwill, I would honestly still be skeptical about that goal. But in addition to just like the BDS movement, people aren't engaging with them for that reason. People are also, even if you didn't care about the BDS movement, if they're laying off all these folks, like you have so much going against you. I'm like, is this what you're focusing on is 1 billion users? Okay, that means you're going to focus on live service, which, you know, we can see with their Minecraft focus.
Right, but we already saw that attempt from Sony PlayStation go full throttle live service, and they've backed out of that. So, I mean, to me, this reads very much that C-suite has come down to meddle with things that they don't really understand. They've heard some buzz about things,
for sure,
and the people who are in the trenches have been like
who ordered Activision Blizzard? This was a lot of money. Who ordered this?
I don't know. I feel at this point, like, I mean, I wasn't really covering Xbox because of the BDS movement anyways.
Yeah.
But I'm like, they were at least with ID a place where we could say, hey, they were really trying to like make a space for indies, support indie developers. And I will probably honestly move away from them even further than I have, because they don't care about indies anymore, like more obviously, I guess, because of the focuses that they've stated here. And so it's kind of like, it seems like they're really just putting all their eggs into a very different basket that I don't necessarily want to be a part of.
Y'all. Speaking of prices, I don't know how to segue out of that. Oh no, actually, we did need to talk a little bit about
What's going on at PlayStation
what's
with
going
their
on with
plans.
PlayStation. Let's
So on the
talk
other
about
side of the big
PlayStation
three,
Land.
as one falls, we have two remaining, and one of them
Green to
said,
blue.
I got something a little spicy for y'all, and then dropped this news. So this came up on the PlayStation blog written by Sid Schumann, or at least it's tagged with Sid Schumann's name. I'm sure it's just like a comms person who wrote it, but neither here nor there. It is entitled Physical Disc Production Ending in January 2028 for New Games Releasing on PlayStation Consoles. It reads as follows. As consumer preferences in the broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital, physical game disc production for all new games releasing on PlayStation consoles will be discontinued starting January 2028. Following this date, new games will be available on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. This transition has no impact on games that already released or will be releasing prior to January 2028 in disc format. This is a natural direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment to adapt to consumer trends as the general preference for digital media significantly outpaces physical discs. The transition will enable us to align more closely with how most of our community prefers to access and play games today. I think we probably all saw this coming to some degree. Certainly and this is also from like everybody, I know there's been a lot of conversation around there is truth to when one of the big three is down, the other ones get a little cheekier because they're like, now's my chance to put out an idea no one likes because where you're going to go, there's nowhere to go. There is some truth to that. People getting, we've historically seen of the big three, there being a little bit of arrogance when they're in the lead and then maybe getting too big for their britches and then, whatever. And we've also seen generation to generation, the quote unquote winner or most dominant of those three platforms tends to shift from generation to generation. Some of that is starting to stagnate out as Xbox has not really been able to recover from like what they had at the height of the 360 era. Like the one didn't really go hard, and the Series X/S is doing even worse, I would say, culturally and game-wise. So again, bringing it back to PlayStation's decision to go away from discs and physical media, I think they're writing on the wall for the formal death of physical games, at least from like the mainstream sector. Became clear the second that both Xbox and PlayStation released a console that didn't have a disc drive. The second that happened, I said we have max like one more console that has a disc drive, like if that. So, and I guess that was one more than we are gonna get, because I think this, next PS6, presumably coming in after this, isn't gonna have a disc because they don't have physical discs. Now, will they have an attachment to, will it be backwards compatible, and will they sell like an attachable one? Maybe, I hope so, but we don't know that yet. That's speculative. As far as the indie scene of things, I think physical is definitely a smaller one-off, and also reserved for like the bigger deal indies. Like a lot of, the smaller, deeper cut games aren't necessarily going to get a physical pressing, but it has been a way for people to, give devs more money, more visibility, and also engage with the hobby in a different way of having like the physical stuff to show for these games that pretty much exclusively launch digitally first and then, maybe get a physical pressing after. And as someone that still does really love physical, I don't get it as often because, one, again, a lot of indie games are digital. And then on the AAA side that I also cover, if I'm getting a code, it's a code. And then, I love games, but to buy a game that I already own, like that's $60 that I can go to my student loans, I simply just don't really do that for the most part. So as much as this might not be a huge shift in how we play games or certainly how we play indie games, it does have a lot of impact on gaming as like a market and a culture. The how does this hit for used game stores, which like don't always stock physical indies. Again, it's a small amount. iam8bit and Fangamer and a couple other places do pressings, but some of those places do stock though. Like I have a local store by me that has like iam8bit stuff. And again, even just like the culture around games, like so many people, like plenty of people come to indie games first, but some of those people are like originally AAA players that come to the indie scene from, maybe AAA doesn't have everything they want in games, or maybe they find a AAA game that has energy that kind of feels indie coded. A lot of people talk about that PS2 era, the oddities there, titles like Loco Roco, and feeling like, where can I get like weird little guys? And like indie games often provide the weird little guy market, right? There's a lot of creative ideas and intrigue happening in that space for sure. So I think even though it might not be as big of a hit to the indie scene as it is to the AAA market, it does impact gaming culture, and that thus has ripple effects that can affect indie developers as well. But yeah, what did y'all make of this? And then how do you think it has an impact on the indie scene?
I think for me, the biggest thing, which for I'm sure again, this has probably been discussed so much over a variety of gaming podcasts, but for preservation purposes with indies in particular, I
Yeah.
feel like that's the biggest concern for me, simply because indie games more than others technically are primarily digital, because not every indie game will get a physical launch, but those that have gotten physical launches have been able to be preserved in times when other stores have shut down, other internet browsers or Flash, whatever. Indie games are usually going to be the first to go and the last to get preserved, because they are harder to track, harder to keep, and harder to get a hold of. And so I think the idea of preservation, while it is a common sort of thread that we see in sort of why physical games are important, I think at the very least this should prompt a conversation on how are we, if we are moving totally to digital, which I'm personally not a fan of, how are we making sure to create structures and pipelines so that these games can be preserved, because we need that, because we're losing so much history every time we have turnover with different generations of consoles, and it's really sad to lose that much information and history.
Yeah. I think also there's a very practical fear here when you don't own a disc and you own a copy that lives on your platform of choice, whatever it is, that the platform owner can take that away from you. They can keep you from playing the games. So you no longer, it is not only a question of physical copies, but of ownership, of who owns this game and the right to play it. If you were just buying some kind of lease for the game license to be able to play it until PlayStation takes that away, Xbox takes that away, Nintendo takes that away. We've seen this happen. It's
It's
not
happened
just
to games
some.
I've worked on before.
Yeah.
I've worked on games that have been essentially unpublished
Yeah.
and taken away from people, including our team who has worked on it.
So like if you're buying a game and you don't own it, that's a scary thing and a lot of reason why people are turning to physical. I like to keep a lot of my indies. If they're on my top indie list, I'll buy a physical copy, not just to support the devs, but also because I'm like, what if I turn around tomorrow and like, what happens if Game Pass disappears? You know? Like, a lot of people have these games on
More
Game
like what
Pass.
happens when Game Pass disappears, am I right?
Like,
Like
Real.
do these games just get pulled because they weren't really anywhere else? Do they, like, what happens? So it is scary in a lot of different senses as to fighting with back and forth humanity of different things to see if you are actually owning your games and do you want to keep them, not just like conserving for the larger history, but like for maybe you want your kids to be able to have that experience you had when you were a child, to be able to play this or that game and it no longer exists anywhere. Or maybe you just want to go back and play your favorite game and there are predatory practices that can really come out of this. Like every time you want to play your game, now you have to pay a subscription fee to be able to play your games. Maybe you go back and pay like a flat fee to play your game every time. Like things can come from this that are worse and worse for us, the players.
Yeah.
So there's really no good to this.
Yeah, I know with the Video Game History Foundation in particular, they put out a statement when
Yep.
this news dropped,
Shout out.
talking about how obviously this is a hit for like the consumer and for like people that have their business around the physical market. And they talked a little bit about what it means from like a preservation standpoint, and did mention that the impact isn't as you might expect, because most of preservation isn't about just like you have a warehouse with a bunch of physical games. But the thing they bring up, which they're often talking about, is the fact that, and I'll just read now directly from what they said, if platform owners are deciding to eliminate physical media and older digital storefronts, then we'd also like to see trade groups like the Entertainment Software Association offer meaningful solutions for archives and museums to legally preserve digital-only content and make it accessible for research. Everyone agrees this is a serious problem, but the ESA has repeatedly opposed the efforts of cultural heritage institutions to reform digital copy protection laws to make it easier to do this work. The industry needs to meaningfully come to the table on this issue, because asking the museum to download a copy of GTA 6 in hope that it'll run in 50 years is not a preservation solution. So, definitely a place to look towards to, learn more about preservation and support their efforts and be part of those discussions. But again, I think as far as physical media and games, especially in the modern era where it's like, oh, well, physical nowadays isn't even like the game itself. It's like a key to unlock the digital version. And I think this is interesting happening in the wake of Nintendo Switch 2, also doing like game key cards, which is like kind of a nerf to the physical cartridge, to the point where like I now find myself sometimes just getting digital for Nintendo, even like AAA, just because I'm like, well, the physical really doesn't mean anything on their platform like anymore, which sucks. But it's like, and I think that's evil genius as well, because it's like they're just going to make it whack enough where now you've weaned yourself off of physical, so that when they eventually say we're also digital only, we'll be like, oh, well, the key cards kind of sucked anyway. And they're like, yeah, and we made them and knew that they sucked. So it's kind of honestly like a great plan in terms of like from a corporate positioning. And I do think that is where they'll eventually go, and like all of them will. But it's about like the fun of how you engage with the hobby. I think a lot of people that discount physical because they don't use it and it takes up space, which is valid. It's not environmentally like the best thing in the world. But it's the magic of like opening up something and having something and going to a store and having those moments. Like a lot of things in life, convenience sometimes comes at the cost of elements of our own humanity, of feeling like present in the world and with this thing that like already is digital, but having like sort of what like the intimacy of what something physical can provide. It's why people still like have physical books, but also the tradability of that, like the fact that I can have a cartridge and send it to someone and then they can play it, and and I can resell like my games and then kind of get a trade off that way, where it's like the only store that allows you to refund is Steam. So like there's other elements to like I think the larger culture that has a negative impact. Yeah, I wish it was less of a bummer, but I don't know. We'll see if the physical stuff for indies was already very much like third partied. I'm sure there'll be some interesting solutions to kind of keep some of those efforts alive, because like that's kind of the energy the space exudes anyway. But we'll be curious to see, I don't know what that means for the future of indie physical. Like, will people be more inclined to make games be playable on like older hardware that then has pressings, but then if places like, I'm not really sure what this ends up looking like. Are all the indie physicals on Nintendo going forward? It definitely will have a little bit of a ripple, even if it's a small slice of indie players engaging in the physical aspect.
Yeah. Admittedly, most of the indie games like I was buying physically were on Nintendo anyways, simply because they tend to have the most easily accessible and purchasable physical editions. There are indie editions on PlayStation, but again, I'm more of a Switch Nintendo person anyways when I'm playing indies. So
my copy of Lemon Cake that I have on PlayStation.
So I think it'll be interesting because Nintendo kind of is the last place where, for the foreseeable future, on a continuous basis, we'll be able to at least insert physical cartridges into the console. And for me, PlayStation has always been more, I will purchase the games, but I'm usually purchasing AAA games on there. Like that's where I play Final Fantasy. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up shifting in the physical market, especially as we know Nintendo probably will be moving away from the cartridges sooner
Right.
than we'd like.
I really
I would
wonder
imagine.
if, and I would really like, um, if this prompts someone out there that can to make some sort of indie machine. And we
And now we're
always
back
talk
to the
about,
Ouya. All roads
yeah,
lead back to the
My God.
Ouya.
yeah. And now it's like, and the draw is that you can play all of your physical discs here. All your physical media in some way can be put in here and played, and that would be such a really fun, interesting thing to see as we move away from that in other spaces, because indies usually does is that space where you see them doing something that AAA doesn't do. But yeah, we'll have to see.
We also have games like Gas Station Story, which launched the beginning of this year, I think, where they're like, we're just going to make a Game Boy looking game and we're going to press Game Boy color cartridges for this.
Yeah.
And so who knows, maybe it'll which it'll obviously be a very, very, very niche subset of indie developers, but it'll be interesting to see the ways that people do address it, because that is a burgeoning community that I've started delving into a little bit, is developers, hobbyist developers creating Game Boy games and actually putting them on Game Boy
Yeah.
cartridges. So who knows what cool stuff will emerge as well.
Last two things I want to just shout out here for quick news. Scarlet Hollow's price is increasing to $29.99 on August 13th. This comes with the news that the recent rumors update has brought Scarlet Hollow's content up to 1 million words. Y'all, this game is so good. It's wild. It's got so many options. I think $29.99 is extremely reasonable for this quality of a game. And if you haven't jumped into it already, please do. They are not totally finished with all of the episodes, but those are coming very soon. So please go check that out. Also, we got a really out of left field announcement. Thumbleweed Park 2 has been announced. We don't know much about it. I think we're looking at 2028 as the aiming for launch window right now. But yeah, that was a really fun thing to see come across, just so we can have some happy news. It's always nice to see things coming up. Other highlights for July: PAX West prep already beginning, Jenny. It's already coming.
Yep, I have been getting emails already, people wanting to schedule stuff. Like, by the time I was in recording this, it's July. PAX doesn't happen till September, and I'm like,
Yep.
I understand technically it's just a month, but wait until the August calendar month has appeared, please. But no, I mean, it's exciting. I feel like PAX is always a good time. It's a good chance to see folks. It's a good chance to try out some demos, and I'm looking forward to seeing what PAX West has in store this year. Especially Nintendo. I don't know. 2 years ago, they did their like Nintendo Live event, and they didn't do it last year, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm curious if Nintendo will have anything, because that's personally, I thought that was such a fun addition when they did do that 2 years ago.
Just a little note, because we thought it was funny. Paralyzed babies are kind of ugly, so the devs are changing them. Thank you, Kotaku, for that story. We'll link that down below so you can read all about the ugly babies.
They look like they were from Family Guy, like,
Yeah.
or Over the Hill or something. Just one of those old cartoons.
Very strange. Also, fun news from Janet, if you want to take that away.
Yeah, I have a Steam machine now.
Woo!
When it comes time to eat the rich, I'm going to have to run and hide because I have my $1 million Steam machine. No, I think I might have alluded to this on the show before, but if I didn't, yes, I have a Steam machine as provided by MinMax. MinMax paid for my Steam machine, so it is as close to free as it possibly can be, minus the taxes, because it's still received to me as income because it's expense. So I do have to take a little bit of money out to account for that. But yeah, very lucky and privileged to be able to do that at that job. Glad that they provide that, which is really cool and not super common, unfortunately, for even larger media sites to necessarily let you just kind of expense stuff that you use for work, even though it probably should be. But so definitely grateful for that. I got the, I think, 512 gigabyte one. Again, it was like a raffle lottery system. There's like 4 different versions, mostly just different in gigabytes, up to a terabyte. And also, does it come with a controller or not? So I got the one that came with the controller. It's like the price offhand, I think it's like $1,200 or something obscene like that. So it is a lot of money. I am sad to report that it is awesome to have. I'm not gonna lie. I feel bad because it's so expensive. It's such a hard rec for anybody. But again, people listening, you know how much money you have and want to spend towards this hobby and what is going on in your lifestyle. That will have to just be, a decision that you make. And then if you can get one, again, they're still very hard to get. We have to kind of lottery system into it from Valve. Several of us at MinMax put down to like a desire to purchase, and not all of us were able to, just to give like a small anecdotal case. But yeah, I've only had it for a couple days now, but it has already become the hell yeah indie machine console. Again, to make a long story short, I love console gaming. I do not like being on my computer. I do not like being at my desk. This is where I work for a lot of hours, so I don't like to game here. And I just didn't grow up gaming that way. I think there's definitely people that love the like, I got my rig and I've, and they kind of make it their own. It kind of still just feels like I'm at my desk for me. So yeah, love having that option. The controller works really well. It looks incredibly dumb and seems like it'd be very uncomfortable. It does work great. This little slope that it has to offset the touchpads really makes them feel like they're not even there. It's surprisingly lightweight. And yeah, turning it on, it just like, it's Steam but big. Like, it's just Steam in big mode, which has been really cool. I am pretty much exclusively using it for indies. I know there's obviously a conversation around how powerful it is and whether it's powerful enough to like run, higher end AAA stuff. You can read into people's tech dives. That's not my expertise, nor is it my desired use case. I do think with how expensive parts are at this point, it is a viable option. I know some people would say, oh, it's just, you can build a PC for better. If you want that console experience, if you don't have a PC, I think it still does kind of check that box, unfortunately, and is worth considering, especially if you're only really looking to make it an indie machine. Of course, there's still the Steam Deck, which might be favorable to you in terms of what it can do because it has that portability and is significantly cheaper. So that's an option. I did used to plug it in to the TV with like a dock. It just feels a little like not as seamless as you'd wish it would be. And like the Steam machine is just seamless and quick. And it's very quickly becoming now a new contender on where I play. So like for AAA, like in general and then PlayStation exclusive, I go PlayStation. For Nintendo specific, I go Nintendo. Nintendo used to be my indie machine, but I've kind of moved over to Steam because of the like family sharing and then also having a Steam Deck. And now I have like indie games that I feel like are Steam machine games, which is almost all of them except for ones that they feel like handheld games, like Squeak Cross. It's like, I kind of want to play that just on the Steam Deck. So now there's this fun delineation between those. And then, occasionally I might still, if it's like a typing game, you can hook up a keyboard to the Steam machine, but it's like, it's kind of nice to type at a desk. So there'll be those things. But yeah, I am really enjoying it a lot. And I'm hoping that I can also use this to like get a little gained momentum in like knocking out games and trying stuff. And just like the convenience factor can be a differentiator on whether you do something or not. And obviously some of this is like, just have the will to do a few extra steps and you'll save some money. But also, I have to have the will for a lot of things. And if I can give myself back some willpower by freeing it up, that can be worth it. Again, admittedly, if I had to buy it, I would not have bought it myself. It is a lot of money and I'm working on other things financially right now in my life. But if I didn't have it, I probably still would have this on my radar, especially living with Isaiah. We can kind of, always split the cost of something like that if we wanted to, which I'm sure is the case for other people. And it also opens things up that you might not expect. My setup right now is my desk is in my bedroom and Isaiah's desk is in the living room because we just have a 1 bedroom apartment. Now we can PC game next to each other again. Like, that's really cool. So again, these are very specific use cases. Only you will know how this machine would, could, or should fit into your life. But that's just some brief shares on the ways that I have found it to be like really cool and useful, despite it being like a very expensive, quite unnecessary device to have, especially as someone that owns a PC and owns a Steam Deck. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't really like having it. So yeah, I'll be interested to hear more from people as they gravitate towards it or not, and for the people that were on the fence if they end up getting one and how they feel about that purchase, especially in the indie community, because I know this was a big definitely a big player in the space as an option on where to game. And as always, I really wish it was cheaper, because it's like, if you didn't have a PC because it's expensive, you're still not going to have this because it's still expensive. So yeah, hopefully one day it'll either be cheaper or people that can, gain and set aside. Like, I think of my brother who like loves games and would like really get a lot of use out of a Steam machine, but he's not good. It's so much money. It's so much money, but it's a lot of money to even gift someone. That's the other thing too. It's like, what am I going to put aside like a rent's worth of income? It's a lot of money. It's an expensive hobby, but yeah, that's my reporting back. I wish it didn't rip, because then I could say save your money, but instead I'm like, you might want to save your money and buy this. It's kind of good. That's Steam Machine.
That's Steam Machine, everybody. I don't know. I don't think I'm still not totally in on the idea, especially since I do have a very lovely computer. But maybe the price will drop dramatically somehow in the future.
It's that AI bubble burst. Maybe things will switch. I don't know. I don't know. They mostly have just really been taking a lot of water from towns, is the thing that I see keep happening. So
So yeah, let's talk about games we've been playing besides Big Walk, which we've already talked very much about. I think there are pretty much a couple of games that we all have across the board. Jenny, do you want to talk about the incident at Galley House?
Boy, do I ever. I barreled through this game. The incident at Galley House is from Evil Trout and the developer William, I think it's Rouse. This is the team that brought us The Root Trees Are Dead. So if you already hear The Root Trees Are Dead and you're like, I love that game, just go pick up the incident at Galley House. The premise is there's this house called the Galley House. In the 1930s, something absolutely horrible happened where the entire family and their guests ended up mysteriously dead. And so you, in the present day, are using this machine that can somehow recreate the events of the past and figure out just what exactly is going on. I love that this game, it's one of those deductive mystery note-taking games, but I actually thought of Janet when I was playing, because I was like, this is one of those games that I feel like even if you did not want to do puzzles, you feel like it would stress you out, this is a game that is really approachable and smartly designed so that I could say, like Puzzle Dum Dums, complimentary, come, enjoy this game. What they do is structure it really well, where the UIA is very tactile. So you actually have the machine in front of you that you're flipping, kind of like Guess Who.
Yeah, I
for
love
retro people who remember that game. Where you're essentially matching profile avatars to pictures of characters that they've uploaded for you. You are using voices, and they also, I believe, color code the voices too. So that's for an accessibility standpoint, but they have different voices and voice acting so that you match the voice with the character and the name. So that's like sort of the first wave that you go through in solving. And of course, then the real mystery happens where you're reading through all of the scenes, listening to the scenes, and trying to deduce who died when and in what order. It's a close reading game. Like, really, it's the most glorified close reading. Like, as a former language arts teacher, if you ever took a test where you had to read a paragraph or read a small short story and then later answer questions of like, what happened in this story? It's essentially one of those, which is the least glamorous way to describe this game. But I think it shows how approachable it is if you take your time, read closely, you will be able to solve this mystery. It does not require smarts, just patience. And it's just well done. The music's really good. The art is solid. Again, the tactile nature of everything, you feel cool as you're like flipping switches and pulling levers. And the mystery is a really compelling one and actually has a bit of a poignant story behind it. And I think some really interesting themes that it addresses that I won't mention here because it does kind of spoil part of that discovery.
Yeah, I also really liked this game. I played an hour or so, and most of my journey was with Jenny. Because she has a wonderful playthrough up right now if you want to go check that out. It's funny to watch someone else go through this kind of game because everybody has their own sort of set. Jenny was very much steam forward, see what we can get. And I was very much like, okay, let's get every single thing in sequence. But it is a really cool, you start out kind of not knowing anything, and you have to, from the clues given, deduce who is talking, who's in this scene, where have they gone, because in order for this machine to work, you have to know where a person is, who is all completely there. So you can't just be like, is there somebody in the living room right now? You have to know all of these people are in the living room at this timestamp, essentially. So things that are really cool. Jenny talked about the kind of audio. Their audio is really well done and also woven into the way you play the game and understand the game, which is I love to see when that sort of thing happens. There are moments even in the early game where you're like, that's weird, but because of the way you play games and game logic a lot of the time, you kind of dismiss until later when you learn more about the game and you're like, ha, that was really cool actually. And it's just that right amount of spooky. Like it's not outright horror, you're not going to come across any sort of gore or anything really terrifying because the machine doesn't reenact the actual deaths. I think there's only one situation where you hear the death, which is a little traumatizing. But if you're the kind of person that doesn't like scary games, this could be a really good spooky game for you.
Yeah, I think I think as a self-proclaimed dumb, it will push a bit and it might push you a little too far. And it is a close reading game. It's not like a solve a thing. It's like it is quite literally deduction. But there's two components that really tripped me up when I was playing this. I started out playing alone, and then I was like, you know what? I don't think I can do this on my own. Let me swing by with Isaiah because he loves games like this. And I'm like, but I also really like the game. So I'm like, I think this will be a way for me to like be able to play it, but also make it a little bit easier without just leaning on the hint system. There is an in-game hint system, and it is very like detailed. But the problem is and I have this even in non-puzzle games, if it's just like maybe I don't know where to go. Like everyone has their own amount they want to tolerate on this, but sometimes I'm playing a game, even if it's not a puzzle game, where it's like it gets to that point where I'm just reading the guide and then redoing what they said, and I'm like, well, now I'm not even really playing it. And that's not to be judgy of people that use game help, but it gets to a point where it's like, shoot, I'm not really doing it. I'm not even really doing this. So it's like, so rather than risk falling into that, I was like, let me just play with Isaiah. We can kind of tag team it, double the brain, double the efficiency, type deal. But two things tripped me up on this. One was, and I say this for people that might end up falling into this pit a little bit, I did not understand. Very early in the game, they tell you there's like a green number on the timeline, and they're like, this means there's more scenes, there's more stuff you can gain from watching this scene. But I was like really confused by what that meant. I'm like, do they mean there's more, like if there's a number 3, is that 3 more things happening at hour 2? Or is there 3 things that could, I'm like, what are the 3, are there 3 things I need to have like I didn't know what the 3 things like meant. And eventually I finally realized that like, oh, it's just stuff that you can gain from that irrespective of the time. And then like an earlier thing that also tripped me up was just like that was time, but that I feel like was more of just user error of like there's ways you can, if you've read the UI a little closer, it's kind of clear, like, but it's clear in retrospect because something that happens to me a lot in puzzle games is I might accidentally solve something, but I didn't actually know how I solved it. So when you put in, because you punch in time, location, people, punch it, and then if you're right, you get a scene, and if you're not, it goes blue, blue, and it's short circuits. I put in a lot of those without realizing that the first number is the time, because it happened to be also the room.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
And it didn't click that, like, why would you put the room in twice? And I was like, I guess that wouldn't make any sense. But, like, I just didn't think about it. So, but other than that, it's just the deduction element of it. Like, there were parts where I was, like, once I got past that, I was like, maybe I could have done this on my own. And maybe I could have. But there also are parts of the deduction where you might hit, like, just light walls, like anything else, where you, like, you have the things that you come up with right away. And then once you're done with that, it's like, okay, now the challenge is, I got all the juice I naturally squeezed out of the orange. Now I have to go back and squeeze again. Can I get the next bit of juice that I need? And then, so it kind of has peaks and valleys, like any game like this, where you might be getting like, oh man, we got so much out of that. But that's also the fun of the game. When you finally get the relief of getting like a new scene, a lot of times that scene can be very fruitful, where you're like, oh my God, or from this scene, I know a new location to punch in. I finally know, you know, who's Debbie, fake names for sake of spoilers. It's like, okay, and it starts to really roll. So it has a nice flow of like momentum to it, and a simple enough loop, but also a satisfyingness of the getting the scenes is always exciting. And the fact that you have the queue up animation each time, and then it's That's So Raven, like, and you get to see like what's going on. And little stuff like they put the people in the scene once you like assign names and like bodies, which is just like a cool extra detail that also makes like the clarity easier. Again, it's all voice acted. They have an in-game note-taking system. They let you highlight lines of text. Like, I think as far as the casual appeal is definitely there, because they sort of offload a lot of work that, you know, again, blueprints, that's extremeness, right? Of the like, you bring your own paper, your own stuff, like you're bringing your own, and also a history of doing these types of games. This is definitely more casual friendly, like in the way that like Case of the Golden Idol is as well.
I would say like, yeah, this is approachable in one. I just remembered one thing that they don't do that I found really helpful with games like Root Trees and even Obra Dinn, even though I would consider those games maybe a little bit challenging in their puzzle structure and sort of how you're doing the deduction. This game does not correct you if you have errors input.
Yep.
So there was actually one instance where I had put an incorrect character portrait in for one character. I had like the right one in mind, but I just like mixed them up somehow. And I went through like a good chunk, maybe a third of the game with the wrong visual. And it didn't end up tripping me up because it was just a visual. So it didn't impact necessarily the content and the knowledge I was gaining. But I realized a third of the way through, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the wrong portrait. So I imagine if you did put in incorrect information, it does not necessarily allow you the checks that some of these other games do, which I would say is probably one of the biggest detractors if you are newer to this and you find yourself like stuck. You don't get any sort of help in that way.
Yeah, it's definitely a game where, like, my big advice for people going into this who aren't as used to playing these types of games, it is a game where it is challenging your assumptions. And, like, if you don't know for sure, that means you don't know for sure. Because when I played on my own, I realized, like, I played on my own, ended my time, and then restarted with Isaiah. And I let Isaiah take it until I was where it's new for me. It's like, okay, now we can work together, because otherwise I just kind of know this stuff. But right where I had ended my session, I was like, oh my God, and watching him replay it and getting, again, another time of reading the text over, I realized I'm like, I messed up this one character portrait, because sometimes like any other deduction logic game, you know, just because one thing does fit doesn't mean it's like the right piece, because it might fit for multiple things. Yep. So it's like, you know, like a simple example, like that I don't need to get specific on, is at one point someone mentions like, oh yeah, Stacy, like your sister. And it's like, okay, we know Stacy has a sister. Do we know there's only so many women there? Who's Stacy's sister? well, also, is Stacy's sister even here? Maybe she hasn't come to that, and then so you're kind of like those types of things. Like, you don't want to just say, like, I mean, when I know I got a sister, it's probably like Teresa. It's like, is it Teresa? Because it could be somebody else,
Right.
Or Stacy's sister could just be Stacy in another way. We don't know what's going on yet. Let's not jump to conclusions. So it's definitely a game that you want to like err on the side of caution for that, because like you said, Jenny, it does not correct you either. And it's not that brute forceable either, as someone that did try to brute force some of these things.
No.
Like, technically you could do some stuff if you really did, like, if you had enough pieces, you could propose it. But it's not really that type of game. But also, it gives you what you need to get, like, you don't need to do that either way, but then it also means, like, okay, damn, I'm missing something each time. But it definitely has a lot of grace, and, like, you can replay all the scenes, and, like, it's a really good game. Like, it's good enough that, like, I didn't just quit it when I didn't feel like I could do it myself, which most of these games I'm like, time for me to peace out because I don't really want to. Like, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be here, but like, it's really good and really fun. So that'd be my my take for like the dumbs. Like, if you're down for pushing a little bit, give it a try on your own. But if you're down, be willing and ready to have like someone that's a little bit more versed in this to play with. You still get a lot of the fun out of it. Like, I'm like the note taker. So I'm like second string. If Isaiah's head coach, I'm assistant coach, and it's like I'm kind of coming in and throwing out some of my ideas as well, and it's been really fun. And this is another one right there with Big Walk where we're playing like almost every chance we get, outside of like I had some work games I had to play, but we've like woken up before work to like get like an hour or two in before going to our respective jobs, because it's like it's just really fun to just sit and see the story unfold and make the deductions. It's even like a great game for like non-gamers. Like, it's just fun to deduce things.
I think some of the reason you want to keep going too is because you always think you're right around the corner from finishing the game several different times. I think the other thing for me that could be what not holds people back, but is like a little bit of a difficulty, is there is something happening inside the game that you don't realize is happening for some time. And until you get to that point, you don't realize why like Jenny said it very well at one point. She's like, I think this game is gaslighting me. And like, and I'm like, yeah, because there's something I thought I understood and now I don't understand it. But I think when you hit the point of realization, oh, this is what's happening, then you can go back and say, okay, now I understand all of this. Like, it's not as confusing as it seems at first. Or might seem at first. So just keep on keeping on. I believe in you. You got this. So that is Incident at Galley House. And at first I wasn't sure how to say it, because I'm like, it's spelled Galley, but what if it's Gailey or something? But it's Galley House. I want to talk about Scarlet Deer Inn very quickly. This came out in the middle of July. So good. It's very, very short. I think that's a lot of times better than not at this point in my gaming career, but I think for some people maybe they expected more. It seems to be a cozy game, because this is the game which most people will remember as the game where all of the characters are embroidered and then put into the game, which is so cool. Like, the way that makes a texture and a living, feeling, breathing character in such a way that you couldn't achieve in any other method. So cool. It has amazing hints to begin with as to what this game is going to be, because it seems, oh, the sun is shining, you're in this medieval town, you're talking to your neighbors, it's going to be this lovely. But then you start to pass things. They're like, why is that there? What's going on with this? And very quickly things turn much darker than you're expecting. This is much more of a, like, Eastern European fairy tale sort of situation, Grimm's fairy tale, if you will, where things happen with that logic and you have to accept that. You can't be like, why would you just be okay with that? Like, no, you kind of have to go with, like, you're in a dark fairy tale, and of course that's how it works. Of course your trading currency for body parts. Why wouldn't you? That's how things work in a terrifying fairy tale. And I think the ending, it's not definitive, and it's kind of creepier that way. But I think a lot of people would be like, I want there to be this like everything wrapped up in a bow. But I think again, this is like a ghost story you're telling each other uh, around a campfire sort of situation. Though they're always scarier when it's like, and nobody knows what's, whether or not they're in the woods right now. That sort of thing. So that's very much what you're getting into. But it is beautiful to play. The sound design is amazing here. It kind of has to be in order for you to understand what's happening in the world, because there are no button prompts here. I think that's one of the things that I'm really, I go back and forth with whether I love it or not, because it makes the game so much more immersive. But it's like, oh, I didn't know I could turn down this alley because there's no like hit X to go this way sort of thing. But really well done, really beautifully developed to have like puzzles and shortcuts that run back into each other. A really interesting themes that I don't really want to talk about again because it might spoil what you're looking at. But Scarlet Darien, please go check out. Super, super excited for people to go and play that. I feel like we've got a lot of creepy things going on. Jenny, what's with the Desktop Explorer? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so immediately after Galley House, I said, give me more sort of eerie horror games. So Desktop Explorer is, it says it's a psychological horror game. I will admit it's not as scary as that sounds, or at least I haven't gotten to the scary parts yet because I haven't finished it. But it is one of those OS mystery deductive games where you are playing a character who has found a old computer with a couple of profiles on it, and you are going through and digging into the different files that you can find and basically trying to figure out what happened to the people. One of the things that you discover is a mysterious software called Desktop Explorer, and kind of like Forgotten Solitaire, actually, which is another game I talked about, I think, last month. You're digging through sort of what seems to be a cursed, haunted, or somewhat like paranormal software that is in this computer. So far, again, it is eerie, but not scary. The puzzles are also I find them really fun because they're playing on common things that you do with files, and in computers, you are compressing files, you're expanding them to do different things to solve puzzles within this dungeon interface. And so I would say, again, I like puzzle games, and so I play a lot of them, so it feels easier to me, like very straightforward for the most part. But I do think if you are someone who maybe finds games like Galley House or Obra Dinn or Golden Idol a bit intense, especially if you're familiar with a computer and going through and digging through files and finding clues that way, this feels very much like a sort of easier or at least more approachable puzzle game in that sense. But I'm really liking my time with it so far. I think the story, I feel like I kind of maybe know where the story might be going, but it is a good ride. So far I'm having a good time, and we'll see what happens by the end.
I feel very much the same with this one. It is an intriguing story underlying everything that you're kind of getting drip feeded to you. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. With okay, what's actually happened here, finding clues along the way that you don't quite know what to do with yet, but you know it's going to be something. The hardest times I've ever had in the game were when I was overthinking it, and I'm like, I'll just put in this thing because I found it. And I'm like, oh, of course that was it. I was looking for going down all kinds of rabbit holes. As someone who really likes classical history, there's a lot going on there that I'm really excited about. That I'm like, oh, this has some meaning. Like if you know what the Rubicon is and what that represents historically, like, okay, we're going somewhere. We're going somewhere with this game. And I really, really love that aspect to it as well. Of course, Jenny, there are people alive who don't remember this era of OS, and like
Yeah.
clippy and like having all those feelings, but it is so nostalgic to be back there and to like tell the stupid thing and be like, shut up, I don't need you to be
Right.
talking about my thing right now. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I do really love this kind of genre that's appearing of old gaming experience that's kind of haunted. So
Mm.
go check that out. That is really good. Uh, Also, what I think is another kind of creepy experience, Janet. Idols of
Yeah,
Ash.
Idols of Ash. I didn't talk about this already, did I? Sometimes I always wonder if I am repeating myself. When it's month to month, I'm still getting my monthly sea legs, I suppose. But yeah, Idols of Ash. If nothing else, I did finish it because that took longer than I thought it would. It's a very short game. It's like obscenely short. It's like if you're really good, you can beat it in 45 minutes. If you like to take your time, maybe more like 2 hours. Don't ask how I know. But yeah, it's a repelling game where you're going down into a dark hole. I did not talk about this yet. Okay, perfect. I reopened last month's stock just to make sure, which I should probably get in the habit of doing. Yeah, you're going down a dark hole, rappelling. So if you like climbing games, technically rappelling is not climbing, but it has a lot of the same verbs. You have like a hook shot, you're jumping, you're sometimes swinging, and the shtick is there's a giant centipede chasing you slowly. And if it catches you, you're dead. And it is described as like a horror game, but kind of I'm on like a similar page as like what Jenny was on. It's not really like a scary game though. Like you will get like if the centipede gets you, you might get startled. Like that did happen to me, but it's not like a jump scare game. It's not like you're being chased at a rate so fast that you're like wildly stressed. It just kind of gives you enough to give you incentive to keep a continual momentum, and it kind of creates it sets the pace for what the game is, and helps give it stakes. That's how I feel like it ends up being. And the look is very like old school PlayStation 2 horror, like kind of grainy, kind of like minimalist, just blocks going down a path. But it also has a really cool story. The story is given to you through like the checkpoints that you hit, and the checkpoints are like these like little urns, or I suppose the idols of Ash, if you will. And when you approach one, like that's a checkpoint going down as you descend, but you also take a second to reflect as the character, and your reflection is like 1 to max 3 sentences long, and it becomes kind of clear, why are you going down, and what are you potentially running from? Like, why you should maybe be in therapy and not just rappelling down a hole with a centipede. But yeah, but it also is kind of playing on, like, I think the lore of what's happening, where there's kind of almost like an implied hallucinatory effect that the ashes have. So then it's kind of like lore-wise, like, is the centipede even there? Like, what's going? So there's some fun with that, and it just kind of gives it additional. It helps elevate the game, where it's like there are different levels to like what makes a game good and what makes it something that's like sort of more compelling, worth talking about, that makes you kind of, what are the extra secret sauces to it. And I think elements like the narrative wrapping, though it's very minimalist, help make this more than just, I know it's cool to go down a hole, which it is, but like they kind of add a little bit extra to it. So I quite liked it. And if you're someone looking for gameplay challenge, you can also like, there's a version of, can you get to the bottom without using checkpoints? Because it's all like level designed. It's not procedurally generated. So you can kind of start to like memorize where the most optimal spots are and where you should like be doing your placements and things. And of course you can do like little speedrun challenges and such. But yeah, I really liked it. And it is wildly cheap. I want to say it's like $2.
Yeah,
it's
$2.99.
This is in the vein of buy it and don't even play it. Like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, if you don't get to it, it was $3.
Yeah.
You've gotten to less that costs more. That didn't quite make sense, but you get what I mean, But I really, really liked it a lot. Yeah, Idols of Ash. Play it.
Perfect.
It's fun.
Go get it. I think just rapid talking about other things that we have played. I want to shout out Truckun is supporting me from Another World. Of course, Strange Scaffold. We always shout out their games when they come out because there's some sort of element that there is to love. This is very much a chaotic, ridiculous game. You see an opening of Chris Ward, who is a business-driven woman who's finally getting to the top, and then our main character runs over her with a truck, um, and apparently the truck is magic. Let's not talk about that. And instead of killing her, it sends her to a mystical fantasy world where she can obtain a scroll of resurrection from the main boss in order to come back to the world. And she demands that you help her do this before Monday when her promotion starts. So that's what's happening. You are murdering people for her to, like, in your world, you are aiming your truck at people so that they can be sent to her world so she can defeat them and be heroic, get more points and level up so that she can take on the final boss. They have an amazing set of like ways to keep you engaged. Your objectives are constantly going. It is dopamine hit after dopamine hit. The controls are good and they feel really, really fun and really cool to do. Every once in a while you're knocking off cops. You know, that's always fun. So like this world is silly to explore. It is a fun, ridiculous game, and I really want to see how the final boss goes. But I haven't gotten there yet. So um, that is Truckun. I want to shout out a game that I feel like isn't getting as much love as I really think it should, and I'm not sure why. Uh, Dodo Ducky. I'm gonna say it's Dodo
Mm-hmm.
Ducky.
I've been calling
It's
it Dodo.
okay. It's essentially like the concept of Screenbound, which I feel like is getting so much more coverage than Dodo Ducky. But like, you go in and it's a 2D platformer, very lovely, um, very silly. Your chicken friends have been abducted by aliens in the middle of the night, and you're a duck, so you're like, "Where are my friends?" And you go off to find them. Um, and so that's sort of the experience. You very Mario-esque. You're jumping over things and whatnot until you meet Cappy, the Capybara cap salesman, which is my favorite NPC of all time. Um, who, when you don the first hat you get, literally changes your perspective of the world. So the world becomes 3D, and now instead of jumping, you can attack. So in order to play this game, you have to switch literally in between doing things. So in the 2D world, you can jump, switch, and then land because now you're in the 3D space. And it's such a cool way to do it. It is so well done. I am super in love with this that I've the gameplay that I've played so far, and I am sad more people are not checking it out. So Doo Doo Ducky, Dodo Ducky, Doo Doo Ducky, Dodo Ducky. I don't know which one it is, but go check that out. It's so cool. I'm linking it down below. I checked out Orbitals. Orbitals, really good, really cool. I am so in love with it. It's coming out in September, if I remember correctly. I'll put linked down to my full thoughts below, but please do check that out. I was like, I realized that that was July 7th was the embargo for that game. I'm
Yeah,
like, we
like
haven't talked
an
about it yet.
illegal embargo for
Yeah,
the Summer
yeah,
Game Fest event, but what are you gonna do?
Honestly.
yeah, 100%. Don't do that to me. But, you know, Nintendo gonna Nintendo. Because it is out only on Nintendo Switch. Helix, Descent and Ascent, worst game title, I think, of the year so far.
Because of
I
the
think
N is an N, like the letter
an N
N.
is an N. It's really generic. It doesn't tell you anything, but everything else about this game is so special. It is atmospheric and enigmatic and beautiful art and very thoughtful about design and everything about it. And I want people to go and check out this game. I'm so sorry that the title might put you off of it, but please go check this out. Helix, Descent and Ascent. Worlds Upon the Wind, a very cool change up on the like deck building, world building kind of game. It's all done in sort of Zen ink print sort of artwork, and a lot of it is just slotting in things to other things. Love that. And then shout out to Tears of Metal, which is out in early access right now. You love being able to play as the Scottish and melee fighting your way through big baddies. So that's all my quick things I want to talk about. Janet, you want to shout out some things?
Yeah, I'll do my rapid fire as well. I played Thrifty Business, which I think is a pretty solid game. I would like to go back, but I haven't quite felt the pull as much. But I think I would like to go. It's a very like relaxing. You're running a thrift store and you're kind of slowly gaining more inventory to sort of curate how you want your thrift store to be. I believe this is from the team behind Sticky Business.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Great. 360 no scoping these studios. I got it. So yeah, it's nice. Like I played this on stream and one of my like followers described it as like, oh, this is my Saturday morning coffee game. And they sound like they're having a better Saturday morning than me. It's like, I mean, it's like maybe I should just kind of like, I think it is kind of like a pretty simplified scope and like limited experience. Like it really is. Do you just like slowly designing stuff and then like placing objects and deciding, getting the shelving and, having kind of your own headcanon of like, this is how I'm conceptualizing my store of I got the downstairs expansion. That's going to be where like the home goods are and the top's going to be where like the clothes are. There are a few other mechanical underlying things like an element of like community building as well. But I will say from my first, like, I think I played maybe 2 hours of this or so, or like closer to an hour. It's a little bit more like simplistic. Like the most boring part is kind of when the shop opens and people come in because they kind of just come in and buy stuff and then like dip. It's not like there's not like too much to be excited about in that exact moment. It's more like something that just happens. But something that is kind of cute is you'll kind of hear from customers like via like a fake social media or like a kind of a texting service or something, what they're sort of looking for. And that's sort of sweet. It'll be something like, oh, I just moved into this new apartment and like I really need like affordable kitchenware. It's my first time on my own. And then like you stock, the pots and pans, and they're like, I'm so glad you carry pots and pans now because now I've really needed this. And it's like, okay, yeah. But like, again, it's a little bit more low key. So get to it when you can find time if that sounds appealing, but it wasn't something that like, shook me to my core. And in a similar vein, finally played Mecha Chameleon. The hottest game in the world turns out is actually pretty good. This one I do think you kind of need a big group for as far as the multiplayer bit. You're hiding in like an environment as like a plain, like a blank slate little like stick person, almost like the sign that's on like the men's bathroom, like that you play as the men's bathroom sign, and then you can paint yourself. Controls are a little jank, not too janky that you can't learn them, but it is like not as smooth as I wish it was. But very parsable, and it's fun to try to hide in the different environments. Like it is a well-made game, and it's also a very different take on the like friend slap genre because it's not there's not like negative consequences. It's really just like hide and seek but with paint. It's like just a fun time. But I do think you kind of want a bigger group for it because I've thought about going into it again, and I'm like, it's like me and like what, 2 people. It's like that's not really quite big. I did it with MinMax where we had like a group of like 5 or 6 because you can kind of split up who's like hunting or not. But yeah, like it's, if you can get a group together, I think it's definitely worth checking out. I quite enjoyed it. And then quick ones that didn't quite hit for me, Wax Heads. Liked a lot of what it was putting down. I believe we talked about Wax Heads before, but I just kind of didn't fully connect with the like tone of the game. It felt a little bit too like this is a problem I have with certain styles of writing where it's very like it is like anti-capitalist and progressive, but it's like anti-capitalist in the way that's like, I don't like capitalism. And I'm like, I don't think I need you to say that aloud. I kind of want to feel it, like a show don't tell more vibe. And this feels a little bit more on its face. And then I kind of wish I got more out of the puzzles, which I know sounds insane because I can't do puzzles, but it's like, I just kind of wanted to be pushed a little bit more in like exploring the records. Because I thought the general construction was like pretty fun, but I'm like, it just didn't quite evolve enough for me to want to see it through. And then I also played Don't Let Starve, which I know, Jenny, you had demoed and sort of flagged. Mm-hmm. And this one, I think just kind of, it suffers from the problem of being a roguelike that once you figure out a strategy, it kind of becomes less fun to play. Like I ended up coming up with this, so for people that need a reminder from when you last talked about it, it's like a bento box, horror-coded roguelike game where you're making like bento boxes for a monster. I'm in on all of that. I love the idea of it. And, like a lot of these type of games, it kind of follows a more Balatro-y formula of the different foods are worth different points and different combinations can gain you different points, but you can also gain, I forget what they call them, but like their version of like tools, boons, like, you know, that type of thing, relics, like that can impact how you're gaining the points. And then you have different point thresholds to hit. So it's a very like traditional setup in that sense. And I only played like 2 hours, so there's definitely more, I'm sure, to the game than what I experienced. But it didn't quite hit like the excitement level. Like once I kind of gained a strategy, I think mine I ended up specking into like bread. But then it kind of became boring because I was just filling the box with bread. And I'm like, damn, this is like, because one thing I really liked about it was having to fit the stuff in the bento box because the food has different shapes. And it kind of felt like they like, what if you end up going with like a more specific run, you kind of lose that element of the fun of the gameplay. So like that part didn't quite work for me. And they definitely have like, I can tell there's story stuff in there where there's like hints of like, ooh, but then there's stuff that's locked, like there's different stuff going on. But it didn't surface that like early enough for me to like build that intrigue that maybe would have brought me back. I will say I did beat a run, so I'm like, shoot, I beat the game. We're kind of done anyway. But I kind of wish it was like just it had a little bit more to it because I think the general concept is like pretty solid. But it was a funny thing where I was streaming it and I kind of got deep into streaming it and I'm like, you know, like it's got some cool stuff, but it's not that interesting to me. And then people in chat were like, yeah, it didn't look that interesting. I was like, damn. I'm like, no one's like, I don't know. It's funny when you're like streaming, you know, for an audience and stuff too, where there's like later, like after you give your take, they're like, it didn't seem like it was, you know, quite as thrilling as I think you kind of want from like the heat. There was enough heat, I think, to it. But yeah, those were those.
Because I ended up finishing it and like going through it because it ended up being my evening game, and I was a little bit disappointed because there are secrets that you can uncover, but they don't lead to like the stuff. It didn't lead to the things that I was hoping it would lead to.
Yeah,
I guess is the short way to say it. And so it was cool because I was like, oh, there are secrets and you can kind of like do more. But I think it felt unfortunate because it was one of those games where I was like playing it and then I was thinking, oh man, I really want to, I'd love to hop into Clover Pit right now. Because actually, this makes me feel like Clover Pit. Or I really should go hop into Balatro again. Because I feel like I would love to like max out a run there. Because this is giving me some of that. And at the end of the day, once, kind of like you said, once I really figured out a strategy and kind of like broke the game for myself, I was like, there isn't too much to go off of beyond that. But I'm like,
totally.
It's a really cool concept. And so I hope the dev keeps making stuff. Because I'm like, man, if you can like, have that a little like tighten up the design just a little bit and kind of make it a little bit more clear in some ways, not just in the objective, but like beyond just the main loop, what you would like the player to get out of this game. I think you could have something really, really, really cool.
I think too, like I found some of the which is funny because like, and this is sometimes the case when like a game doesn't quite hit but has good stuff. It's like there's so much I feel like we could talk about with it because it has a lot going for it. But it's not quite like cohesive enough to me too, where it's like the things you like the items you pick up to influence stuff. I'm like, well, this doesn't feel quite like foodie enough or horror-y enough, so it kind of gets caught in the middle. Yeah, it does suffer from that problem of invoking games that it is significantly worse than, not even because it's a bad game, but because those games are so good. So it's like you're up against Balatro, Clover Pit, which I didn't admittedly spend that much time with, but also Inscription, a game that I never finished, but I know the vibes and I also know how revered that is. It's like, it's kind of like those things, but like not quite working in the same. So it ends up being a tough sell, I think, for that reason as well. Yeah, glad I checked it out and, you know, I beat it. So I won. So, you know, at the end of the day,
there you go.
I got what I needed. You know, the monster was satisfied and I got to leave out of the little vent. So, yeah.
Okay, Jenny, hit us with your rapid fires.
Yeah, rapid fires. All right, so I'll kick it off with Midnight Moments, which launched actually just on July 30th, so the day before this recording. So big congrats to the team. This intrigued me because this is one of those sandbox diorama building games where you have a little isometric view. You are essentially given a bevy of options that you can create with, and they sort of unleash you to be creative. And I was intrigued because it has a cyberpunk feel to it, so it looks a little bit more melancholic. It's got the neon lights, it's darker. You know, I think for me, one of the most iconic games in this genre is Tiny Glade, and so it was intriguing to see like, oh, this is kind of like a Tiny Glade but cyberpunk. And it was interesting. I think for me as a player, I have a hard time, as I've talked before on this podcast, with games that do not have explicit objectives and goals. And to their credit, they do say it is no goals, just vibes. So if you love a creative sandbox game where you just want to listen to the sound of rain and build things, this is a great little toy box. I think for me, it's not necessarily something I would return to a ton because I'm just not that creative. I don't find excitement in that kind of creation. But the pictures I've seen of what people can build, beautiful. It's just not for me, I think. But really straightforward. I think there's some little polished things I would love. Like you have to click each individual box as you're placing it, for example, to build your structural foundation. And I love in other games where you can kind of click and drag, for example. And so it has like little polished things that I hope maybe in future updates, like they could patch to help make some of the building process smoother. But yeah, it's a solid game. I think if you're a creative person, this would be for you. Just not necessarily for me. Leafy Corner, though, oh my gosh, this was super cute. So this is a plant shop management game. You are basically given a shop, you can decorate it, fill it with plants, sell it to customers. I love that customers will come in and some of them will just pick up what they want and buy. Occasionally, customers will say things like, I'm looking for a plant that's low maintenance. Can you help me there? I have a cat. Can you make sure to sell me a plant that like won't kill it? In better words than that. And
Uh-huh.
so what's nice is that you are managing the shop and also helping recommend plants. And it's kind of cool because all of the plants are actually real house plants and the information you get is real plant information. So I got to be the plant mom that I am not in real life. So it made me feel very proficient and cool and like, oh my God, if I get good at this game, maybe I could like have a plant and it could survive. They have little tactile things that you fill your day with. So as you're managing your shop and you're constantly buying new pots and planting new plants because people are constantly purchasing them, you're also watering them and you have to like click and hold the mouse to like you hear the water fill up and you have to be careful and like lift the mouse because you don't want to overwater. So they have little tactile things like that that just make it extra fun to sort of kind of like putz around and like do what I imagine you would do if you were managing a shop and just kind of like fill your days with little busyness. What I found intriguing was that there is a day counter and time does pass and you can technically close your shop, but I actually didn't realize you could close your shop until after playing like 3 hours of the game and realizing you could turn the close sign on. And so there isn't an actual limitation or sort of constraint. You can just sort of vibe and eternally just have your shop open. And so it doesn't necessarily restrict you in any kind of way or in that kind of sense, which I liked personally.
I love the idea that people in Jenny's world are looking at this 24-hour plant
24-hour
shop
shop. Yeah.
and like, what is this a front for? Like, what
Yeah,
are they
how
really
is she
doing back
staying in
there?
business? I don't know. And really, the goal is as you're selling plants, you earn money and points. You complete objectives to get points to unlock more decorations, more different plants. So, really, it's just about making the fanciest, coolest looking plant shop. Really satisfying. I am not necessarily a shop sim person. Like, I used to be more hot on the genre, and I've kind of cooled down because there have been so many that I've found just kind of middle of the
Hmm.
road. This was actually really intriguing, and I think I'm going to be playing a lot more of it. And I think this might be my new bedtime game since Bento is kind of done, and I'm looking for something new to play. So yeah, that one so far is a thumbs up. Quick shout outs to Rita, which also just launched. This is a game that's really sweet because it's created with, believe the developer had his grandmother in mind when he was creating this game and how they used to do crossword puzzles together. And it's a very sort of straightforward looking game where as you explore the world, you solve crossword puzzles and they help enable like the world to come alive or for things to appear in the world for you to solve even more puzzles. I will admit it doesn't look super polished. Like it's a very rough indie looking game, but I personally found it adds to the charm. And I thought the puzzles were really just endearing and ingenious. And there's just a very sweet story. So I think if you enjoy puzzle like with very light platforming, super light platforming. This could be a really fun one to just play and enjoy. So yeah, there's a free demo too if you wanted to give it a try, but I found it really endearing so far from what I've played. And then yeah, Dodo Ducky, so cute. Looks like polymer clay. Really delights you when it switches between 2D and 3D. So yeah, you covered it, Jill, so I won't go into too much, but I am also surprised at how few people are talking about it, because it is incredibly charming, really polished. There's some little rough spots, like it took me a second because the perspective of the game, you just pay attention to where you are lined up on your X and Y axis, because when you switch perspective, it does not change where you are.
Yeah.
In that perspective. That's kind of the thing that threw me off at first, but now that I have that, the puzzles have gotten much more fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, we are probably in the top 1% of people who are like plugged into the indie space. And this was kind of in my radar in the back, but to not have this be as forward as like a Screenbound is, which is doing kind of similar things with the 2D 3D space. I'm so surprised to not see this more and being talked about more. So I'm really hoping people check this out because like Janet, it's got your platforming, it's got really interesting perspective changes in a way that I think is really, really interesting and intriguing. So
Yeah, I'll definitely be playing this. I'm trying to remember. I might have only heard about this literally earlier today, so it's definitely been flying under the radar. And that's even if because I remember also reading it and saying, "How do you pronounce the name of this game?"
Yeah.
So like that also happened to me. Yeah, I definitely will check this one out for sure. I'm also trying to enter more of my like demoing era because I'm so averse to doing a demo because I have brainworms for like when it's a preview, now I'm locked in. When it's a demo, I'm like, I'll come back later, and then I don't come back. So yeah, I will be dipping into this because there's not a lot of platformers that even exist. So I do try to play them whenever they come across my desk.
well, there you go, everybody. That's what we are playing. Go check out like Big Walk. Go check out everything that's coming out. We've got a video up of our Big Walk probably at the time that you're seeing this. Who knows? Or it'll be out really soon. It's a good time. It's a good time to be playing indie games and to be a fan of indie games. So yeah, go out, explore, enjoy the demos that are going on, the demos that will be here soon. But that's the end of this month's council. Thank you everyone for joining us. Janet, Jenny, I'm always happy to talk with you about stuff. And everybody who is continuing to watch us. We appreciate you. We really do. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The Indie Council has its own socials. Check out at theindiecouncil.com on Blue Sky. But the session is closed. So go play some indies.